Mm. Sorry about that for those of you who were here. Damn live got taken down for God knows what. Life story. Anyway, is what it is. It's a TikTok thing. One sec. Be right there. Oh boy. Whoever was on the live 10 minutes ago, it said community guideline violation. It didn't say why. I'm not sure. Oh, thanks, Gabrielle. I'm glad you were enjoying it. Yeah, I often get asked by people that are pro-Israeli. They're like, "Why do you talk about this conflict so much? There's all sorts of other conflicts. There's Sudan. There's of course Ukraine, Russia. There's things that are going on in Haiti. All sorts of places around the world." And fair enough. Yeah, those things need to be talked about as well. This one though is just something I've been following for such a long time, and it's so newsworthy right now. So it's just something that like a lot of us, I have my focus on it, but I do want to talk about other things for those of you who are interested. I learned a lot about Ukraine, which I didn't know as much as I should have. And it really changed what I thought. Initially, when I saw the news come out, I probably thought, like many of you, that this was just some sort of unprovoked, crazy attack, which my family still believes. But anyway, whole nother story. I feel badly for Ukrainians, the people, but I also feel totally different about the conflict. Not that I support war, but anyway. It's just an example. Erica, what happened was the live stopped. It said live access removed for 10 minutes, which usually if you're like driving in the car or getting out of the car and they think you were driving or whatever, they'll suspend you for 10 minutes just because it's like a safety thing. They didn't give a reason. They just said live access removed. They said community guidelines. They didn't even say community guidelines violation. They said community guidelines, your live access will be restored in 10 minutes. I don't know why. So I have no clue. I don't always know what's going on with this stuff. Again, I'm just a host. There's DC. What bad luck. You happen to be.
Oh, did I say something?
I don't know, man. I don't think so. We just sometimes this shit just
I
happens.
didn't curse. I didn't. No hate speech.
Maybe,
No
maybe
nudity.
your name offended people because it's Washington D.C.
Oh,
Um,
I know. I'm probably getting a little bit of a target on my back. This is I kind of spread the love around in different lives, talking about this stuff and trying to plant some seeds to get everybody on board. Hopefully, some people.
well, please continue. You were talking about the government and how it's so corrupted, and you can't stand either party, and you're embarrassed.
Yeah. Um, I was a 40-year Republican. I was a Reagan guy, and Trump came along, and I was just like, after over 4 years, I couldn't take this clown anymore. And then after January 6th, that was I don't even know who these people are. They're outlaws. So then I switched to Dems because I felt like I had some social justice. You know what I mean, I all along just kind of kept it tamped down. So became a bit of a lib. But then I got sick of the libs because I saw how they were acting, and they're no different from the conservatives. You know, hateful, attacking, arrogant, smug, elitist. I'm like, you guys need to eat your own dog food. So I took a step back, left for a couple months, and just analyzed everything. And I was just like, none of these clowns care about us. They don't. Um, they don't serve us. They serve APAC. They serve NRA. They serve the pharmaceutical industry. They serve the oil industry.
Yeah.
Whoever else, the highest bidder.
In
It's
fairness,
like,
though, just this is in fairness to the people. I have a friend who served in Congress for one term. It's not the people, although some of the people do play the game and they're kind of disgusting and kind of just try to navigate it and profit from it. That's gross, obviously, and they are corrupt. There are a lot of good people that go in with the right intentions to serve their constituents, and they just run
right,
into a buzzsaw. The system is what's corrupt, not the players, and that's
right.
why when I talk about elections, you can literally throw out 80% of Congress right now. And as long as
Yes,
the same leadership structure and powerful influence are in place, it doesn't matter who you put. It's like marionettes on a stage. You can replace the dolls, but somebody else is still holding the thing with the
right.
wires. You got to get to that person.
Yeah. And your friend didn't serve long enough to become part of the swamp. You know.
Well, he just was disgusted by it.
Okay, good. He saw it and was like, yeah. They all look if they're not already millionaires and billionaires, they always leave because of their inside trading and their crap they'd put. I mean, Nancy Pelosi, come on, and these Menendez and all that crap. I mean, good
Yeah.
God, these are the people who serve us. It's ridiculous. Gold bars. I mean, it's a joke. It's like, what do you even say anymore? It's like these are the people serving us, and they serve themselves. Menendez is working for Egypt. You know.
Yeah,
But anyway,
the thing is, this is the hard part is they've conditioned the public to believe that the only path to reform is through the very system that the wealthy elite and the security state have total control over. So they're gonna give you pre-selected candidate A and then pre-selected candidate B, both of which have their skids greased by
right.
the same people. You have a choice of A, corporate party and influence, and B. Which one do you want?
Right, right, and they're all the same. I mean, look, the duopoly parties have done a good job of keeping third parties out. Yeah,
Of
we need to
course.
get a third party, and we need to get ranked voting. You know, rank candidate voting. I don't know this is pipe dream. I mean, it's like, oh, term limits. The fox is guarding the hen house. So I don't know what it's going to take. I'm really concerned about it because I've come to the final conclusion that Israel runs the United States and all the West. They've got them hypnotized,
Has a
and
lot
it's
of influence. Well, it's not even just Israel. It's and this is going to sound conspiratorial, but I believe after taking a lot of time to try to figure out what's up, it's not for mean spiritedness. I could care less who the group is, but
hmm
there's a lot of commonly minded influence that happens to be pro Zionist, many of
hmm
whom, or most of whom, actually, there are more evangelical Christian Zionists that support the
hmm
than there are Jewish Zionists. But the people that occupy the majority of the positions of wealth and influence in the country are Jewish Zionists. And
hmm
between the two of those factors, a lot of the policy decisions vis-a-vis both Israel and other foreign policy decisions that tend to be of benefit to Israel are
Right,
influenced by those factors. That's just the
right.
unfortunate reality as I see it. I wish it weren't the case.
Right. Did you see where that billionaire, he was a Jewish billionaire, I think of WhatsApp, made the call to Eric Adams to have the police disband the protests in New York, and they hopped to it. She made a phone call.
Yeah, the New York, the NYPD has a branch office in Israel.
Right. A train there, yes. And I heard.
Crazy.
You know what? You need to take a still shot of the faces of the police officers when they are just a still shot. Look at a still shot. They look like rabid animals with all their weapons, and they went in there and beat the hell out of these people on the street. I saw the videos. It was nasty. It was
Yeah.
not America. You know,
Well, that's
very
not unique,
disappointing.
by the way. They're protesters during the civil rights movement during the Vietnam era. They got the crap beaten out of them.
hmm These police, they're something else. I mean, they're out of control. And you know what? Like I was saying before it went down, it was the First Amendment thing. We kind of, oh yeah, Trumpers First Amendment. What do you mean your First Amendment? It literally is being taken away now. First Amendment is being taken away. I never thought I'd ever say that. The
Yeah,
Pally.
there's a lot of inertia in the wrong direction. You would think that, when in history have the people doing the repression and the censorship been the good guys?
Right. I know. Listen, I tell everybody if we don't come together, both sides, everybody, the deck is stacked against us. They have the power, the money, and the pew pews. You know, and I don't know what it's going to take. I'm really frustrated unless we all do this, but it's going to be. It's like turning an aircraft carrier around the ocean. You know, you're muted.
It's a really big ship. You're right, and this is what I like to say. The rudder is all the way pushed to one side right now by
Right.
some very very strong forces. So I also we need a lot of people pushing the other way, which unfortunately
hmm
we're all divided up and we're all fighting about X, Y, and
Right.
Z, which is silly.
Right.
The thing I would say that voting, imagine if you're trying to knock down a concrete wall or a brick wall,
hmm
and you need a massive bulldozer or one of those, heavy equipment pieces to kind of knock it down. And obviously what we're doing right now is we're taking little pebbles off the side of the road and tossing at the wall going, why isn't this working? Why won't things change?
Right.
And that wall is made up of these wealthy interests. You got the very super rich, like the Sheldon Adelsons of the world, all these billionaires. You have the family offices that represent their wealth. You have the military industrial complex, the surveillance state, the security
hmm
state, the media apparatus. And then you have the influence groups like the super PACs and the interest
hmm
related PAC and all these heavy corporate stuff. All those influences are the people holding the marionettes.
Right.
And we have to get to them and break that up. And that's an incredibly large task to do. It's going to take decades of organizing. We don't have that kind
Yeah.
of time for what's coming our way.
No, this may not happen in our lifetime. You can pick any topic you want. I'll discuss just about anything. Israel, Palestine. I've heard you talk. You're very insightful, very intelligent. I'm very impressed with you. That's why I keep coming around. Hopefully get up sometime. Thank you for letting me come up.
Yeah,
October 7th, false flag. Israel knew it was coming. They knew for a year. The troops were told to stand down once they broached the most heavily guarded border in the world. And of course, they didn't mind that the kibbutzes, because that's the left wing of Israel.
You got it.
Uh, 6 hours of ridiculous. They were told to stand down.
Can you explain that part to the audience just a little bit? Why would the more reform oriented, more Palestinian sympathetic, maybe opposition to the occupation, why would those people be considered to be expendable according to Israeli leadership?
The Hannibal directive, is that what you're talking about?
Or
What do you mean?
whatever reason, knowing that they moved the festival close to
Yes.
Gaza and that the attack was imminent, why do you think that they did that?
They intentionally did that so there would be more casualties. And the kibbutzes, I mean, they let them run rampant down there. And I think even I've heard that when they came over, they were in shock about the whole music festival. And of course, I've got videos of the American-made Apache attack helicopters shooting on their own people, and they shot these cars were charbroiled, these homes were hit with shells, tank shells.
Yeah.
That was not rocket propelled grenades, So October 7th was a false flag. They knew it was coming, but they knew oil was underneath Gaza. At this point, the plan had been in place. So October 7th was a good excuse to, under the auspices of going after the H group, to mow the lawn in Palestine. And that's what they're doing. And nobody's stopping them. And they knew that.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen the videos, but there's two different videos by two different people that didn't even talk to each other. These are IDF soldiers that used to work on the border in Gaza. And both of them said, in their own words, very, very, very adamantly, there is no way in the world, humanly possible, that 13 separate breaches of the security fence around Gaza could have happened. Not even one without
No
them knowing
way.
well in advance, because they have sensors on the ground,
Cameras, sensors, everything. Yeah.
and they have radar systems, and they have machine gun turrets, and they have sensors on the fence itself, that if anything happens either near or on the fence, because by the way, they threaten the Gazans, if you get within, I think it's 150 or 200 meters of the fence, you're considered a target.
Right.
You can be
I mean, they
mowed
put
down.
a bulldozer came through there, but they were training in Gaza, and they saw them training on the hang gliders, and then they put it on the internet. The H group did. It's not a secret.
Yeah.
So when I get these Zios up there, and I love taking them on, I'm like, we pay the United States for your everything. Are you telling me the Mossad, which is supposed to be the most intelligent intelligence apparatus in the world, and the idea is that bad they didn't know this was coming? They have no answer because they know they're great. So anyway, it's about a canal, oil, and a natural gas, and now a floating pier that's going to be taking in military equipment for the new military base in northern Gaza.
I think you're absolutely right. And by the way, for those of you who don't know, U.S. Secretary of State, oh wow, you got removed for a violation. That sucks. Just this, and I wouldn't say these things definitively. I would phrase it this way: there are those who surmise, and some of the evidence could lead one to this conclusion. I'll put it that way. That's a fair way, because I don't have absolute proof of any of these things. But the pieces of the puzzle, you can try to make sense of them. There's never a right or wrong way to look at it. It's just different ways to put them together and speak to them. But one of the things that looks, of course, just it's not a good optic, is that Anthony Blinken, the U.S. Secretary of State, okay, he is somebody who, when he arrived in Tel Aviv to discuss in a press conference with Prime Minister Netanyahu, he said, "I'm not just here as an American official, I'm here as a Jew." Now, just imagine for a second that somebody from an Islamic background, someone who made it through the ranks of a position of power in an administration, went to a foreign country, let's say Qatar, and said, "I'm not here as an American official, I'm here as an Arab or a Muslim," whatever. That would not go over well with the American public. Like, what the hell is this guy doing? He's there as an American, right? But somehow when it comes to Blinken, that's considered to be somehow like, I don't know, it seems like a different standard. And on top of that, if you don't know this, Anthony Blinken has an ownership stake in a natural gas development consortium, which just so happens to have its eyes set on the contracts to develop the offshore natural gas in the Eastern Mediterranean off the coast of Gaza and in Lebanon. So if you don't know all this, and again, that's just, it could be completely innocent. It could have nothing to do with anything. It could be pure chance, but it doesn't look good when you have somebody whose interests can be questioned by some of these puzzle pieces where it just, I don't know, just, they say sometimes if it smells like a rat, it looks like a rat, or walks like a duck, talks like a duck, who knows? But again, just odd things that I've been uncovering as I've gone down this journey of trying to gather information about this stuff. Could be completely innocent. It could just be the explained mission, which is going after the H group, and it could be all coincidental. Who the hell knows? Same thing with 9/11. It could all have been just a bunch of Islamics that came in and did their thing, right? That's what we're told. That's what the 9/11 Commission came up with. So 10/7 could be the same. Could be completely all the fault of the H group and just bad luck and incompetence, right? Could be. Okay, I think Michael's here, by the way. Michael, if you want to come up and share your views, I know you probably disagree with me on almost everything, but I'd like to give Michael a chance to speak. He's an articulate, knowledgeable guy, and he knows what he's doing. He knows what he's talking about. He probably sees things from a completely different vantage point. Michael's a very dedicated American. I respect Michael's views. I disagree with him, but that's okay. That's what's about fair debate. It's good that we live in a country where we can talk about stuff. Anyway, I'm sorry that DC got taken down, but I don't like to talk in definitive things unless I have absolute proof, which I don't. So if and when I do, I will share it. But until then, I have to talk sort of in some nuance. So anyway, that's how I try to do it. Mohammed, what would you like to say
Yes.
about that?
No, just a quick one. I mean, I wasn't on live earlier, and we dropped in. I didn't understand what happened.
We
I
got,
said,
a, we got
It's
some
my
kind of
fault."
violation for 10 minutes. It was really weird.
Exactly. So I was looking for, you know what I mean, cheap bonds.
You know what it was? I think DC, I think
Ah,
the subject that he's bringing up is very sensitive about
yeah,
whether or not things happen a certain way, and I believe that that conversation has an AI tool attached to it that automatically drops
mm.
people. Is my
But it
guess.
can be. No, I didn't interrupt earlier because you know, you're an American, and the brother earlier was an American, so it's sort of. I mean, I'm not living in America, so I don't have you know, enough knowledge to talk about it, and it wasn't, you know, I mean, okay for me to talk about you know, between two Americans. Basically, you guys, you know better what's going on in there. But the problem is, wherever it's happening in USA, it does affect, as you know, the whole world. So you guys, we were talking about what we can do about it, what we can fight against, or how we can fight against, or where we can start. I mean, I know it. I mean, in my modest opinion, what we are doing right now is already okay. I know it's not enough. I know we can feel like it's not enough, but we're doing what we can, and that's including boycotting every product they have. That's including spreading awareness between people about the cause and about what is going on exactly, and you know, and fighting against all lies they are spreading, you know. And I'm glad that even some our brothers and sisters, my Jewish brothers and sisters, they become, you know, I mean, active in this cause, and they are fighting with us. They're standing with Palestine, which is really a good thing. I mean, to see is really good news for us. They are always been, you know, against the state of Israel, because it is, as we know, an apartheid state. So, but maybe the social media wasn't good enough. Maybe, you know, we know they control the media anyway. It's not a conspiracy theory. You know what I mean? They will blame everything now as, or they describe it as a conspiracy theory. But as we know, it's not anymore. They cannot lie anymore about it. They cannot, you know, paint everything we say that's a conspiracy theory. We know already that. So what we doing now, including yourself, I mean, it's really appreciated. It's spreading awareness, which is really good. And as everything, even if it looks hard at the moment, but slowly we're getting in now. We're getting in now. Unfortunately, the Palestinian people, they are paying the price, but you know, their sacrifice, God willing, it will not go just like that. you know, and that's a that's a lovely cat. Yeah, and I've got one as well, by the way. I love cats, and yeah, that's it. I mean, we can we can keep spreading awareness and fighting against it, and slowly as everything, you know, step by step, and all of us together, including our Christians, brothers and sisters, our, you know, Jewish brothers and sisters, and everyone is in this fight, and everyone is not alone. You know what I mean? And we are all together in this fight, and God willing, we're gonna win. We're gonna win. We are already winning. We're already winning,
Yeah,
even
the
if
real
they don't
victory.
see it.
Yeah, I think the real victory out of the, the listen. I'm not a fan of what happened on 10/7 in terms of the harm that was done to people, even the troops.
Absolutely.
I don't like any combat or battle. I like to see peace be the norm. But I also understand why people get frustrated, and eventually, anger and frustration boils over, and things like this can happen. Whichever side you look at this from, nobody, I think, wants to see there be conflict. I think they want to see peace and everyone live through as happily and prosperously as they
Absolutely.
can. Remember that the biggest change that's come out of this, and I think anybody who's been following this for a while can see this, is that the awareness that most Palestinians probably felt so desperate about, like they're going through all this struggle, and so many people just have either no awareness or seemingly no concern for their struggle. It's almost like
Exactly.
it's hidden from view from people because of how the Western media has chosen to present this issue to the public. This is why many Americans, we had a guy on earlier today who's not atypical. Many Americans see that any activity that's deemed to be terrorism by somebody who's Islamic is
Yeah.
automatically marginalized. There can be no other context. This is the Dr. Phil approach. Like nothing can justify it. It's automatically out of bounds. They're automatically the bad guys. But nothing's that simple. I don't support the tactics, but I
Okay.
understand the frustration and the desire to resist. You don't either support H or you support Israel. It can be nuanced like that. You can support a cause, but not the actual implementation of the actual resistance, which is fair to say. But the
Yeah.
biggest change is what people have seen on social media. Now, it's fair for the Israelis to put out what happened on 10/7. I agree. I'd be shocked, angered, completely bewildered as to how this could possibly happen to my people. I'd be angry at my government. I'd be sad for the loss of people I know or friends who know people who died that day. Yeah, I sympathize with all of that. I sympathize for the hostages. Anyone who has unfortunately died in being a hostage, or someone who may be assaulted, or whatever it may be. All of this is horrible. And I don't want that to happen. I don't want any of this to happen. I don't even want to take the side that I take in terms I want to just be praiseworthy of everybody. But at the
Exactly.
same time, more and more people, and this is the thing, I know a lot about what the Israelis have been doing, which a lot of Israelis don't even know, or people who support Israel either don't know, or they look away from it, or they justify it, or whatever they do to get past it. I never could get past it. And this was the sheer brutality that Israel chooses to employ vis-a-vis Palestinians when it doesn't have to. I'll give you an example. There was a period of time when it was Israeli policy in the West Bank that if a young person was found throwing a stone, they would literally put their arm on a rock and break it. They would break their hand or their forearm, like literally break the bone in half. This was done as a routine practice, as an initial punishment. Then they'd be arrested. Then they'd be convicted by a military court of terrorism and get 30, 60, 90, 180, 306, whatever their conviction was. And they'd sit in jail with a rudimentary like sling on their arm, and their arm would never heal properly. This has happened thousands of times. This is just one example of many proactive policies that I find objectionable. I understand the anger from the Israeli side. No one wants to have somebody throwing rocks at you. I get it. But why do they do it? Yeah, it always comes back to why. The public has now seen. I saw these things happening. I could go on for hours about what Israel's done, which I find upsetting. I understand they try to justify it because they want their security maintained. I get it. But what the government and military does is way over the top. It's way disproportionate. It's way unnecessary, in my opinion. And it actually makes Israel less safe. Whenever you violently repress somebody and make them miserable and show them who's boss over and over again, it just angers people more. Every time you unalive somebody, somebody has a son or a daughter or a cousin or a father, and it enrages people. And if you mistreat somebody that badly, look dehumanized and look bad on them, what do you think they're going to do? What do you think the Jewish people in the Warsaw Ghetto did? They resisted. Anybody who's under the oppressive circumstances tends to have that thought enter their mind because it's just a normal human reaction. You're going to oppress me. You're going to treat my fellow people like shit. You're going to kill my people. Even if we've resisted in the past and tried to break free of our situation, you're never going to offer us a political solution. What are we to do? Most people now have seen this for what it is. They didn't know before. They might have heard, oh, there's bad people attacking Israel. They're just the only Jewish state. They're this small country. The typical narrative. Now they see it for what it is. They were supporting Israel after 10/7, and then they see this mammoth disproportionate response thereafter. And people are just like shaking their heads. I'll give you an example. Imagine if somebody sucker punched somebody outside a bar, and all of a sudden the person gets stunned, and they get their conscience back, and they start to knock back at the other person. And then they bring 5 of their friends and they knock the other person unconscious, and then they start kicking them in the head and kicking them in the groin, and then using some sharp objects, and boom, boom, boom. You're like, dude, wait a second, okay, enough. And they keep doing it, and you're like, enough, and they keep doing it. And you're like, is this ever going to end? That's what this feels like to people. And after a while, you just get disgusted. You just like, how can these people keep doing this? That's exactly the emotional response that people have had because of social media. That's the difference. That's the game changer. And that's why Israel's on the hot seat. Not because everybody wants to hate the country or everybody wants to hate Jewish people or ganging up against the Jews or whatever you want to call it. People could give a shit about that. Like somebody on TikTok said, we could give a shit if you're Jewish. Who gives a shit? It's your military and your government we have an issue with. So what's easy to do if you're somebody trying to defend your nation, if people are criticizing what your nation is doing, you can then easily transfer that criticism to the people who live within the country and their ethnicity and their identity and say it's just because it's all targeted at that you're criticizing our government. No. You're not going to get off that easy. The criticism comes because of the behavior. And if you stop your behavior and switch it, you will then be commended and praised in the public for changing your behavior. Now, you may say, well, who the hell are you to tell us what to do in defending our state? Fair enough, but you're going to get the repercussions of your behavior so long as you choose to continue that behavior, period. End of story. Now, if the tables were switched, just to be fair, if this had involved a predominantly Jewish region with a small Arab state that had been created within it, and they were Jewish people who got kicked the hell out because it was created, and then they were subjugated by the Arab government and mistreated and horribly repressed, 10 times the return anytime the Jewish people decided to fight back a little bit, I would criticize the Arab government. The same criticism for the same behavior I would levy against the Arab government. It's not about Jews, Arabs, Muslim, Christian, Judaism. That's all a sideshow. It's about the choices and behavior of the parties. Can't you see that? And the fact that you end up calling people like me anti-Semitic is because we're focusing on that issue, which is irrefutable. We're not focused on your identity. Who gives a shit who you are? I don't care about what you are. But the point is, if you're supporting bad behavior, whoever does it, you're worthy of criticism. You're justifying something that's not justifiable. And that makes you, in my opinion, not so great of a person. Do you support the atrocities of the Germans? And do you condemn the people in the Warsaw Ghetto who tried to break free from their circumstances? Well, that's not me. I condemn the Germans as the occupier, as the maintainers of these death camps, and I support anybody who would resist those circumstances. I support the U.S. colonial resistance in the American War, Revolutionary War, against the British occupation. Why wouldn't you? That's called being on the right side. That's the ethical side. That's the moral side to be on. Again, I wish it weren't the case. I wish I didn't have to speak out against Israel. I'd rather not. And as soon as it starts doing things towards peace that gives a legitimate chance and a path towards autonomy for Palestinians, I'm the first person to jump in line and start praising that behavior. I will get on top of a bridge and put a big sign on the Beltway and say, thank God Israel's finally doing the right thing. But they're not. They continue to turn the screws down on these people, which it appears from the outside looking in, their intentions are to callously disregard the value of their lives, to continue to drop BOMBS on them, tanks, run over people with bulldozers, unalive people inside of hospitals, callously disregard the need for food, not care about who you want alive as you're prosecuting your war effort, blame it on the other side that they're holding them, in a position where they can't move, all this other bullshit. And I think they just want to move further into the territory. flatten it, make it unlivable, and then come up with some other arrangement that gives them more control and more access to whatever they plan to do. I don't know exactly what their plans are. I don't think they want to unalive every Palestinian in the West Bank and Gaza. I think they just want to push them out or immiserate them to the point where they leave because they want the land. This has always been about land, not about Muslim, not about hating Jews, not about some sort of, campaign or caliphate or some bullshit. That's always the reason I get when I ask for why. Why did the H group form? Why is there a resistance in the West Bank? Why is there any resistance? The resistance exists because there is something to resist. It's not just abject hatred, which is what we hear. All these people just hate Jews. They want it all for themselves. They want to unalive. They want to push us into the. No, they don't. They'd like to have all the territory back if they could, but political pragmatism needs to be part of their future. And they're willing to accept a new set of borders along the pre-1967, which are the legitimate borders right now of the Palestinian territory as most in the world see it. Now, again, all of Palestine was shifted without the consent or the participation of those who were affected by it. So what the right thing and the fair thing would be to do is to create a different entity, whatever you want to call it, create some sort of a common place with one person, one vote, and have as much peaceful coexistence under an egalitarian system. That's not going to happen. The Israelis don't want a two-state solution, and they clearly don't want a one-state solution with an Arab majority. So therefore, this thing continues with American support, and the status quo continues. People have to continue to resist. Now, the problem behind all of this, and this goes for every other issue, is the American system. The American political system is what's causing all this. It is the core rot. It is the cancer in the body. And what we're doing when we go to vote is we're manicuring the fingernails of the patient. We're dealing with the fingernails. We're giving them a haircut. But this is cancer, folks. You got to use chemo. You got to use surgery. You got to get rid of what's causing the problem. We're focusing on, skin care. It's a joke. At some point, the American populace is going to have to wake up, and there's going to have to be more done to get rid of the cancer that has infected the entire system. Because you're not going to fix the system by trying to work your way through and negotiate with cancer. You have to get rid of it.
Exactly, like giving a paracetamol to cancer patients, basically. Just a quick one about basically the Zio. They don't want to kill all the Palestinians. Chip is inevitable. It's they are in the border already, and they are still booming. Like I said earlier, the entire population, the one who's still alive, and they basically running from one side to the other. I've seen live videos about the Palestinian just running from the border because they are it's inevitable. They will die. They will die if we don't do anything. They will die. They will, you know what I mean? That's how is it? How the horrific reality. Because Egypt won't allow them in, won't open the borders, and you cannot blame them about it. But I mean, is it the whole different topic about Arabs and how they don't intervene, etc., etc. But at the moment, reality, the borders, they are closed. The borders, they are trapped between booming from one side and the borders closed from the other side, or they're gonna die from hunger or from disease, or from, there is no, it's inevitable. That's all I'm saying. Like I said, I mean, it's a sacrifice they did basically for the whole world. I mean, for the entire world. I mean, just to get the people, unfortunately, just to wake up at the reality, to see how these people they control us. They control our politics, they control our industry, they control
Mohammed,
everything,
I'm sorry,
basically.
Can I just put you on? This is administrative. Someone named I Am Palestinian tried to get in. Just hold your thought. You're timed out. In other words, I didn't kick you out. So the best thing to do is exit TikTok, reset your internet, like change your Wi-Fi or your whatever your cell, like airplane mode. Come back on your internet. Come back into TikTok, and if you re-request, it should work. Okay, sorry about that. Go ahead.
No, 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 absolutely, absolutely. Imagine. Yeah, it's basic. I lost the point, to be honest. What I was saying. Yeah, I mean, it's the reality is horrific. About what you were saying about the when you confront them about the atrocity they are doing, they will answer with you're anti-Semite, or they will answer, what about the 7 October? Or, well, we can say, what about the 1948 Nakba? What about 2005? What about the 16 years of blockade? They can, even chocolate that can go in. Is a chocolate a trait of? I mean, is it a threat for them? Is it anti-security?
Yeah.
To have chocolate. These kids, they born and they die without having a bar of chocolate. So
Yep.
what does to do with the security or whatever? But I mean, absurd topics just to justify what they are doing right now, or they are being doing for 75,
It's,
76.
it's about control, and the reason they do things. If someone asked
Exactly,
earlier, why would they do this? The reason they do it is because they can. They do
exactly,
it because they
exactly,
want to control the other people. They want to make them believe that they have no chance for a future. They
exactly.
want to take the wind out of their sails by trying to make them as miserable as possible so they'll give up. The thing they don't understand, or of course they're learning and they know this, the senior leadership, the Palestinian people, most of them would rather, like this is Ghassan Kanafani. If you watch his interviews before he was assassinated, he says specifically to the interviewer, there's no talking with an occupier. When has a national liberation movement been able to negotiate with their oppressor? Never,
Yeah,
ever. So you can't have a conversation. The neck cannot have a conversation with the knife. It's just
exactly.
incompatible. So you have two choices. You can lay down and take your fate, or you can fight. They
Fight
are
back.
never,
Yeah,
ever, ever going to give up. And here's the thing, you can continue to oppress them, you can continue to make them miserable, but they're never going to give up. You have two ways to if you want to achieve your goals. You either have to expel them, which they've tried to do. They've tried to get them to release the steam valve to get people into take, Egypt or Jordan or whatever. They want people to accept refugees that they can squeeze out like a tube of toothpaste, or you have to unalive them. Those are the only two exits. As long as they're on that land, they will defend and fight for that land. Period. End of story. There's no, and they know this. It's an impossible adversary to fight. They're more resolute than any people I've ever seen in my life.
exactly, exactly. But basically, every Palestinian live day by day. They don't know. They don't know if the day after is. I mean, they will be still alive. Every Palestinian were packing already have a backpack, ready for him, or for, I mean, for the family, with the real essential stuff to I mean, to flee, to move on once the booming will start. This is the life the Palestinians are living every day since 1948. They've been displaced once, they've been displaced twice, most of them they've been unalived, etc. And when you're talking with the Zio, I'm not gonna call them names, but they will answer with absurd, like I said, topics or excuses or anti-Semite or whatever this, whatever that. They didn't have anything to, I mean, to fight back. The real argument, they invented stuff. They invented lies. They invented stuff. They keep repeating the same things again and again and again until they are convinced they are saying the truth. This is how psychology work with them. This is how their head works. That this is what I understand. I mean, watching them or listening to them, I will be like, are they real? Are they really talking by now and convinced? They even get angry or they start crying about it.
Yeah.
That's really sick. That's really sick. You know what I mean?
Well, remember, there's a perpetual complex that is drummed into people who support the idea of the commingling of the Jewish people, the sense of Judaism, being ethnically Jewish, as well as Israel. Like they're connected together in a fabric that, to some people's mindset, are unbreakable, and that the very survival of everything involved in that woven condition is based upon the state surviving. So you have to, in that case, to save your very life and your future, defend anything and everything that your country does and view it from the idea that you're the person that people are trying to attack because they just want to get you. And that's been drummed into people from a very young age, that your survival depends on your support of your people, which means you have to support Israel because that is your future. Let's bring in Ed Sanders, and then I'm sorry, I'm Palestinian, then Ed Sanders.
Hey, Chip, good seeing you. There's been a while. I'll make a few points and then I have a question. The problem is that, Chip, like people like Netanyahu, these are the, what do you call it, the children of people like Eli Sharon and those other ones during 60s, right? They all have military background. I don't mean anything bad about it. I'm just saying that they're hardliners, and all what they see is how to use the military mindset to to do that. And they all that's how that's been throughout the 50s, 60s, and until now. Chip, I this crossed my mind a couple of times. I wanted to ask you. Now I have opportunity. I know you made this statement that there was this guy in Israeli. He made a very condescending some statement or some comment about Arabs. I'm pretty sure you have mentioned it, what he said, but I'm really interested to know what he said actually, because it's in the back of my head. I want to know how bad it was that he made you realize, the
Well,
moment.
what he said was, and it reminded me of other statements. Sorry to interrupt you. He said, we were talking about Al Aqsa Mosque, and he was talking about during Ramadan. I was making the allegation or referring to the story of when the Israeli police go in and they mistreat and disrespect the people who are praying. They break stuff, they tear gas people, they beat them up, they wear their shoes inside, basically just completely ignoring the sanctity of their religion, because disrespecting them and because they can, and brutalizing them like they always do. But he said, we let them pray during Ramadan, as if they're the ones who are allowed to decide when and if they're allowed to worship. That's what set me off. And I've heard this same language. We let Arabs come in and work for our people inside of Israel. Aren't we wonderful? We gave them Gaza, then we got rockets in return. It's always from the perspective that they're the ones in control. They get to make the decisions. They're the ones who's superior. We made the desert bloom. We went to this terrible place called Palestine, these backwards Arabs, and we brought this and that as the Jewish people, smarter, better. We improved everything, blah, blah, blah. It all flows from this idea of supremacy and arrogance towards and looking down on the other people. And that's just it's a flavor, it's a mindset.
Yeah, I've heard those arguments that we brought modernism and stuff like that, and for that argument, just because sorry, just because modernism doesn't mean that you have peace, right? So people were living there peacefully. Yeah, I was really interested to know, because that could make really condescending way that it's even it makes you feel sick in the stomach. So
Yeah, he didn't say anything like really bad. I mean, I heard people say really bad things, but it's more of a subtle sense of superiority, that it's almost like it's an unknowing bias that people are raised with in such a way that they just come to see themselves as superior to or better than the other, because they're coached to believe that. We know that they've been told they're God's chosen people. So that in and of itself would make you feel like you're sort of in this special place in the eyes of your deity, that alone. But on top of that, when you start framing things as we allow this, we allow that, we're the ones in charge, we're the ones who make all the decisions, you get what you get from us by our kindness. Like, who the F are you to have those controls in the first place, to be the arbiter of what one or should not do?
how many times have you heard them saying that 2 million was Arab Israelis, they work and we feed them and stuff, like they made that comment all the time. I swear to God. And every time they say, like, listen, what option do they have? What option do they have? I mean, All right, go ahead, Ed.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Chip. This is my first time coming on your live. I've listened to you very often, and you are, I've heard, your former military background, as do I have. I had a top secret security clearance as well. But the reason I'm coming on today is to discuss something that has gotten with the cop cities here in America. Okay, so there's only 3 states that don't have a cop city right now, and that's Wyoming, North Dakota, and Vermont, which uh, uh, coincidentally have the lowest population of black and brown people. But now the reason, okay, cops go to Israel to train. So we have to question why. Why do they do that? Okay, what they're doing is the Palestinians they can treat them any way they want to. They can dehumanize them. They can use unheard of techniques and dehumanize the Palestinians, and it trains them to have disregard for the people that are going to be their victims. Okay, so that when they come back here, and I don't know if you know this or not, but it's uh, cops aren't they're not allowed to be a police officer if their IQ level is above a certain level, because high IQ people tend to have an empathy for their victims. Okay, so this is why they're sending them to Israel to train, because they can do this. They can treat Palestinians any way they want to with impunity. And I'd like to get your view on how that's working. What do you feel about that?
Well, at the risk of generalizing, there's definitely a noticeable not only arrogance, sense of superiority, but I would call it a sociopathy. In other words, sociopathic behavior, where one is able to separate themselves from the suffering of others. They're relatively indifferent. There's some characteristics, and of course, it's never everybody, because that's not fair to say. But I've noticed enough interactions with a lot of people who are supporters of Israel. They tend to look at things from a very one-sided view. They tend to see their point, what's of benefit to them first and foremost, and they sort of have an inability to connect with the mere desire to live of the other. In other words, whatever makes their life better is all that matters, and anything else is inconsequential. No matter what suffering someone else goes through, doesn't matter, because my life's more important. I'll give you an example of somebody who I've run into online that sort of exemplifies this point of view. And I'm not doing this to single her out per se. I don't have any issue with her as individually, but those of you who may have heard her speak. Her name is Daniela Amar. And I'm sure that if she and I met under different circumstances, we'd probably be very cordial to one another, just without talking about this particular issue. Because she's a mother or a housewife, a stay-at-home mom, or I don't know exactly what her background is. She's got kids, and I'm sure that in moments she can be very kind. But when it comes to discussing these particular issues, whatever is in her that kind of gets drummed up by these types of conversations is very much aligned with how I just described. She talks only about living under the attack of rockets. She goes, "Do you know what we have to deal with? Do you understand what life is like? Have you ever been here? How could you possibly know what it's like if you haven't been here?" As if to dismiss somebody who has gone out of their way to learn about the conflict and learn about the ins and outs and understand it from those who have been to Israel. And pretty much, she said to me, "You can't even give me one name of somebody who's held in Israeli jail for administrative detention. I can't give you the names of prisoners that are held in my state penitentiary, but I know they're there. I know there's people that have committed crimes for those people. I don't know their names." That's not germane to the conversation. Daniela will say things like, "Look how tough life is for us inside of Israel." If she had any idea what it's like to live in Gaza or the West Bank under the brutal treatment of the Israelis, especially in the West Bank, she would be so grateful for only occasionally having to scurry off to a shelter when 99.95% of any projectiles that make their way towards her people, which I can see is unsettling and uncomfortable, are shot down by an Iron Dome system paid for by the United States, so that she can have free health care, free education for her children, and a much better standard of living than anybody else, because of the brutality that her government and military choose to do And yeah, there was a horrible attack on 10/7. I feel badly for those who got hurt by that, but she can't see past that. She only sees that. She doesn't see the suffering of others. That is sociopathic. The establishment of the state of Israel, those people who are the Zionist movement, who sort of kind of snuck around and craftily orchestrated this particular engineered state, they have low regard for the impact that would have on others. They just didn't seem to give a shit. It's like, well, we're just going to kind of do this and let those people be damned.
Yeah, I concur.
It's
Yeah.
a way of thinking. It's a very dismissive, arrogant, sociopathic, self-serving, selfish, egotistical way to look at the world. I find it very, and also they tend to be very unpleasant. They can be loud, interruptive, confrontational, not very polite, civil. They don't tend to
Exactly.
behave in a way that's very conciliatory, which I also find very distasteful and unpleasant to interact with.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it's
was
like a
I'm sorry.
child when his mommy tells him he's better than the rest of the kids. Well, yeah, and he grows up and he thinks he's superior to everyone else because his mommy told him that he's better than the other kids. You're better than them. So it's a mass formation psychosis. They take them as children and start training them their superiority complex. Okay, and there's no reasoning with someone who has been raised their whole life to think that they're part of God's chosen group. Okay, so that's why they're less sympathetic and less. They have no empathy for other people, especially dark skin. Or the more dark skin they are, they're less empathetic. So and what we're seeing on our college campuses. And let me ask you, Chip. Okay, so American police are attacking American students on American college campuses to protect a foreign government committing a genocide using American taxes. Now, how can you make it make sense? Does that make sense at all? Can you just? I don't understand it. And it's the same thing. Okay. So, and then someone was comparing it to the Vietnam era and the protests during that. But there was a lot more going on during that period. And the Vietnam protests were coinciding with the civil rights movement, which made it even more distasteful to the elites. And they were very, and that's how Kent State happened. And they expect that this needs to happen again to our American college students, and that's what they're trying to push on us, and obviously it's working.
It's a chilling effect. What they're trying to do, and by the way, the Israeli slash Zionist sort of collaborative support system uses every tool in the bag to try to dissuade people from doing anything publicly that would be against the interest of Israel. Let me give you one example.
Exactly.
They have a database that they maintain of known protesters and agitators that express either pro-Palestinian or anti-Zionism or anti-Israeli views. And they use that as a blacklist to go to employers and say, don't hire these people. They are people who don't agree with our cause. They're publicly trying to vilify somebody and try to prevent them from having economic activity as a punishment for free speech. It's just one example of many. These people are sick. They are so maniacally supporting their objectives that they just can't see. I always like to say they are fundamentally incapable of being objective. Look at Ben Shapiro as one of the best examples in the world. Ben Shapiro could no sooner see this issue objectively as he could fly to the moon with his own arms flapping. This guy is so wrapped up in his own little cocoon and bubble about this issue that he can't see the bad things that Israel does. And I understand his objections with the things that his adversaries do. I get it. But he can't look at the totality of the issue and be intellectually honest. He calls himself an intellectual, but he's not. He can't be. He's beyond biased on this issue. People just someone in the chat named Joel just accused me of being biased and said, you've never been to Israel. How could you possibly know? This is the argument. I don't need to go to Israel to understand what goes on in Israel and what the Israeli military
Yeah.
does in occupied territories. I also don't need to go to Israel to understand that there's a bifurcation in the political system, but that most Israelis in general support the effort to eliminate the H group for security reasons. But a lot of them don't like the current government. I understand how the Knesset is laid out. I understand the different political parties. No, I don't live there, but I understand it. I also understand how Australia's politics work and the UK, and I don't live there. But you don't need to live somewhere to understand how life is. And you can read about people who go there or listen to people, talk to people to get more nuance. Shaq Speaker, if you don't know who Shaq is, Shaq's from the UK. I've spoken to him offline and had plenty of conversations to learn more about his lived experience. And that's how you build a sort of a resume of knowledge about these things. No one can ever know it all. And I'm sure there's things as they get related to the conversation, if they come up, that they are nuanced in a way that are different than what I thought. And you incorporate that into your body of knowledge. You never think you know it all because no one ever does. But you have the humility to admit that, and you don't take a stance that's impenetrable over time. You shift it as the information presents itself. But the information that Israel puts out is definitely slanted and biased. A lot of it's complete malarkey and propaganda. And how do I know that? Because I've watched this go on for a long time. The same behavior that we've seen after 10/7, this exaggeration, misstating the numbers and downplaying this and overplaying that, is the same game they've been playing for decades when it comes to every other time this has happened. They're masters at it. They
Have
have an
you?
army of people that edit Wikipedia entries,
Yeah, yeah. Let me
led
ask
by
you.
Naftali Bennett, the former prime minister.
Let me
Yeah,
ask you. Have you ever heard the book by Harry Frankfurt called "Own Bullshit"? Have you ever heard of that?
No.
Yeah, well, this guy he really lays out how people and okay, and so, here's a fact: no one can lie unless they know the truth. All right, so what he's saying is there bullshit is people can skirt around an issue and make it look any way they want to by using rhetoric. Okay, so this you should pick that book up. It's called "Own Bullshit." That's the name of it, "Own Bullshit," and it's written by Harry Frankfurt, and he pretty much lays out how they use their rhetorical um, manipulation to create a narrative. And I've seen this over and over. But let me just say this, Chip: you are a true logician. You are non-biased. You only present the facts, and that is harmful. And I've been accused several times of being, hey, you're just like Chip Barnes. You're just like Chip Barnes. Because when I go on someone's live, I present the case as is, okay? And they try to skirt around the issue. But you are a true logician, and they cannot compete with that. You know why? Because they're wrong. They're wrong, and they know they're wrong. That's why. And I'm going to say, you're a true logician, man.
yeah,
Well, thanks for that. I mean, the thing is, as I said earlier, it's not about the players. It's about the behaviors and the dynamics within the relationships and the geopolitics. If Israel did things differently, I would praise them. I would say, hey, this is to be applauded. If they would then offer a legitimate resolution to the ceasefire and have some political outcome that made sense, I'd support that. If they offered a long-term solution to the difficulties that we've seen over the decades, I would support that. The thing is, they've never done that. And that leads me to believe is that they don't want to have a solution to this because the status quo serves their interest, which is more and more settlements, more and more Palestinians being pushed off their land, more and more money flowing in to support their nation state while they're slowly but surely squeezing the other side. And bit by bit, almost like the frog in the hot water, taking over the place because they seem to have aims. And what I believe happened, and again, I could be wrong, but because this is a process that's been slowly but gradually playing out, what better way to hit the accelerator than to have something dramatic happen that leads to a massive justification for the accelerator to be pressed, to drastically move through and do that which they've been doing in bits and pieces in Gaza on a massive scale very quickly, which is what we've seen happen over the last 8 months. We've seen massive devastation. Most of the population moved to a very small portion of Gaza in the south, and Israel in control of the territory, a desolated moonscape now. Now they can do with it as they please, with minus whatever resistance they run into from the tunnel system that they haven't rooted out. This
Yeah.
seems to be their aim. If they weren't trying to aim for that, why would they be doing it? This is the result of the
yeah. Well,
behavior.
what I believe, Chip, it's there is, in my modest opinion, it's there is two categories of exile. Basically, the one brainwashed, the one when they talk or they support Israeli or they support the Zionists, etc. basically they are talking like they are saying the truth, and whatever they say they believe in it. And the second category, it's the Zayo, the what they call, what I call them the tools, the Zayo tools. Basically, they do lives, in TikTok. They go to the social media. They go to Wikipedia to modify something. They go to even books. To rectify the history, just to to keep the lies on, just to keep people not aware of what they are for real. That we have to differentiate between those two categories, and they're not all brainwashed people just talking, Zayo, and they believe in it. There is that category as well.
They believe in their own
People
lies.
get
Yeah.
paid. Sorry.
Yeah, you're right. They believe in their own lies. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, absolutely, absolutely. You imagine. So there is that the people as well with they are really well paid just to interact in social media, or to create videos and stuff. Just they are like doing overtime, like I prefer to call them. And about the point you said earlier, Chip, which is a really good point, why they go to Al Aqsa. I mean, being a Muslim, I know how they think. And they know how we are close to Al Aqsa Mosque, which is a holy place for us, but it's always been for Jewish, for Christian, and for Muslims. And basically the Al Aqsa, when they go in and they do whatever they do, is a big provocation for us. And it's really, really horrific how, that in the history, every war, churches, mosques, synagogue, every place of worship, it been, is being excluded for any war, for every war in the history. Never been, never been like that. And these people, they are booming mosques, church, and synagogues. Every worship place is not being excluded from this kind of war. And I keep calling it a war, but we know what is it exactly. Is a genocide, not even worse, the other word. But it's just a quick one to differentiate between the two categories.
Just real
when
quick,
we are
please.
dealing with it.
About 30 more seconds. We want to let someone else come in.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, get someone come in. But if you need me to drop in, I can drop to
No, you're
let
okay. We
someone.
got plenty of panel space. I just want to give Abdulafi a chance to
Okay,
come in.
perfect. Thank you.
Hello everyone. I just wanted to make two comments. One, Chip, you've dropped me once for some historical fact, which I want to repeat now. And
Hold on a sec, real quick. Let me say, so hold on a sec. So
yeah,
is this the person that said they have all sorts of religious texts in their library that tell them all sorts of things that nobody else seems to have access to the text? Is that who you are?
excuse me?
Are you the person that claimed on my live that you have access to all these special books that tell you all these things?
No.
Okay, I normally don't drop people. But it takes a lot for me to drop.
Yeah, okay. So, and the secondary, I would like to make a comment on this Al-Aqsa discussion. So, if we come back to the first, so I claimed on you live that Grand Mufti of Jerusalem was high-ranked SS officer, appointed by Heinrich.
That's ridiculous.
No, that's not ridiculous. That's actually a fact,
I've,
matter of
I've,
fact.
I've heard people say
And
that too.
this
That's a joke. Are you
Heinrich
kidding me?
Himmler
That's a total joke.
has appointed him in December 1941 to be Gruppenführer, which is General Lieutenant.
That's been debunked. That has been debunked.
That
Come on,
was
you
not
don't really
debunked.
believe that shit? Come on.
Czech Waffen-SS troops. He was working 5 years during the Second World War in Italy and Germany, recruiting people to SS. Now,
Can
more
you
than
repeat
that,
that statement, please? I did miss it, but genuinely, can you repeat that statement, please?
the statement was that Grand Mufti of Jerusalem, Amin Husseini, was high-ranked SS officer in German army. That's the statement you can find in a lot of sources, from Wikipedia that you dislike to
Wikipedia.
I know. Jews has fabricated
Train
all the
people to
work. Yeah, I
modify
know. Yeah, I know.
Wikipedia.
But
Okay, yeah, the
open,
same
there
one.
are a lot of other sources.
You cannot be
Like,
more ridiculous. But anyway, carry
yes,
on.
of course. But you have military sites. You have like Waffen-SS division sites, armed conflicts, web. You have historical books which describing his activity. Besides of that, during the he flee in 1946. He flee to Egypt and was working as a representative for Muslim Brotherhood, and he flee because he was a war criminal. So all those facts you can check; they are openly stated everywhere. So besides of that, when he was fighting,
When you say stated everywhere, I've been looking online to find any information that might corroborate that statement about him being a high-ranking SS. Can you, before we proceed, can you give us one thing that would give us an indicator? You said everywhere, which means it's widespread. Can you give us one reference that explains that with some sort of third-party corroboration? Just one, please.
Okay, so he's been paused. Can I just say something? You segued into my next question to you, Chip, and I'm gonna let him go and see if he can find any source for his claim, which he can't. I know already, but you segued.
you don't know anything.
Okay, just let me just. I'm gonna end my part of this live in a few minutes, but I just need to ask Chip about something. Okay, so having leveled Gaza, okay, and you know they've gone in there and cleared out places and just went in and bombed, just took and put explosives in apartment complexes just to just level Gaza. Okay, so you made a point. You said it's like they're feverish and destructing the destruction of Gaza, and like 80% of the in any housing or any mosque, church, anything they've completely leveled. Okay, so and the reason, in my opinion, and this has been brought up by a couple of other people, the Belt and Road Initiative that China has been working on has been it opened a corridor of trade that would rival the Ben Gurion Canal project. And this is why they're so adamant about getting that canal finished. And of course, there are the other issues with the offshore gas and natural gas and the water supply and the oil in the West Bank region. Okay, so those are the other issues. But the reason they're so fervent and it has to be done right away as soon as possible is because they're competing with the Belt and Road Initiative. And you can look at Netanyahu's speech at the UN where he put the line across there and said he's opening this new gateway to the West through this canal project. And so I think this is a competition. And of course, you can also add that this Taiwan issue has begun, and it's against China and trying to stop China's progress, especially with what they've done in Africa. They're using economic and helping the people get to a better way of doing things. And okay, so I'm going to let you do that. But then I just want to see what you think about how they're trying to beat the Chinese with their Belt and Road Initiative by installing this Ben Gurion Canal. And I'm going to go ahead and get off and let other guests get on. So thank you, Chip, for letting me join, man. You're one of the great ones, man. A great live always. Thank you, man.
Thanks, Ed. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you. Happy holidays. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. Okay, so this is just one thing I just quickly looked up. Now, this is Wikipedia, so you got to take it with a grain of salt and cross-reference it. But let's just see, for the sake of argument, what they have to say. First of all, the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem, his name was Amin al-Husseini. Okay, he was born in 1897 and he died in 1974, about 76 years old. Okay, now, there's all this conjecture as to why and how he met with the mustache man. So let's get into it. Okay, so he had an arrest warrant for him against the British. The British had the mandate over Palestine after 1918. He was one trying to establish a national Arab state or pan-Arab state inside of the area of Palestine. And he knew, of course, what was going on with the Zionist movement as well. And he wanted to prevent there to be a Jewish ethno-state. So he was not welcomed by the British in that regard because he was challenging their authority and trying to fight back their plans. So he was basically out of the country. He was sort of in exile. So he spent time in basically outside the country in France and elsewhere. So he established himself, as they say here, in fascist Italy and then Germany, the special symbol, which he collaborated with World War II against Britain, requesting during a meeting with Mustache Man backing for Arab independence and opposition to the establishment of a Jewish national home in Palestine. That does not say that he joined the Hitler SS.
You just need to check other languages because this one was edited Czech, Swedish, Czech, German, but you don't need to. So just look for Heinrich Himmler appointed him to Gruppenführer. So
hold on, where's the evidence for that? You're saying it's in a different language. Bring it up.
Yeah, okay. How can I show?
Bring it up.
Czech, Swedish language. Switch it to Swedish. Switch it to Swedish.
I've never done it in different language, so let me go to Wikipedia.
Yeah, but this one is
Chip in Chinese, maybe in Chinese. Maybe, well, if you find it in Chinese, they will ask for another language. You know what I mean? They always do that.
Okay, I typed in Wikipedia Swedish. Now, again, do you have a translator tool that will give us? All right, hold on, I'm trying to find out Swedish Wikipedia in Swedish language. Hold on.
The problem
How
is,
am I going to know what to look for?
even if he's right, is that a motive why they invade Al-Aqsa Mosque? Is that a motive? So once you got someone in there, hypothetically he's with the mustache man, what you do? You invade the Aqsa Mosque and you stop people from worshipping in an Aqsa Mosque. What do you do? What's the ridiculous argument you taking out? I don't understand. I don't understand how you can imagine that people fall for your lies. I cannot understand. Have you got anything else to add, or in the meantime? Have you got anything to add? No? I thought so.
I'm trying to find in the Swedish site. I'm looking at it now. It's the same type of layout, but I'm trying to find the reference to some kind of Heinrich Himmler or the Luftwaffe or whatever, the SS, or anything about the mustache guy. I don't see anything in here that refers to mustache guy or Himmler.
He's just deceiving, brother. He's just deceiving. They always do that. They always do
Well, I
that.
mean, listen, if there is a reference to this, I'm willing to look it up and be honest about it. But, again, if you're just going to make these wild assertions, you have to
Exactly.
bring something to the table to back it up. You can't just make these assertions because I could pull anything out of. I could say Benjamin Netanyahu is from an alien race on the planet Xenu. And
Maybe he
I'm telling
is.
you, if you go to Wikipedia in Dutch, you'll find an answer to it. I mean, come on, man. You bunch
How
of fucking
can
idiots here.
how can someone like him, I mean, to be human? I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, let's just not make a mockery of this. Come on. I mean, if you have the evidence, bring it. I'm happy to look at it. But, I'm going to the Swedish site here, and I don't see anything that talks about anything that you're talking about.
He doesn't even answer.
I mean, I'm copying and
Still Googling.
translating entire sections of this. So,
He's still Googling. Yeah.
okay, nothing so far about the H group. Okay, got it. Nothing about the mustache guy. I'm copying and pasting all sorts of sections here into the Swedish translator. So again, if you want to bring something, if there's legitimately a different language that tells the quote truth as you see it, tell us which one it is and tell us which section of the page so I can translate it instead of having to go through and do all this work, not knowing what the hell it says. And again, you said there's examples of it everywhere. So where are the everywheres? Everywhere means all over the place or more than one.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to give you a hard time. I'm just trying to say, if you want me to acknowledge something, which I'm happy to do, show me where to look for it so I can acknowledge it. Is that fair?
He's back.
Trying to be reasonable. What does grad mean? Anybody? I can't hear you if you're there. Copy. Swedish to translate. Paste. What is just a minute. Group.
They even give him an Arab name, Abu Lafia. Are you there?
Now, interesting. Just to let you know, this is interesting. There's a different section of the page on the right. It looks like a little bio summary, almost like a resume kind of thing. And under information, it says Turkey, and then Germany, and then Palestine, and then he had Volkswagen. I don't know if that. Let me see what this says. Now remember that Wikipedia can be edited by other people. So,
Yeah.
for example, my question is, if this is accurate information and it's applicable and historically accurate, why would it be excluded from the English version but included on the what you want to call it, the Swedish? That's just a fair question to ask. Why would it not be included? Are the English versions somehow against sharing the truth about al-Husseini? Is there some conspiracy to change the information? Let me put it into Google Translate and see what it says. This is his entire bio.
Chip, when I say they edit Wikipedia, I'm not saying it just like that. It was an Israeli officer saying live on a microphone. I mean, he's been filmed that he was attending a conference with students. They were trained to modify Wikipedia live. It's proven already. So wherever you read Wikipedia, you have to doubt about what you're reading. They need to stop Wikipedia itself. They need to stop letting people, anyone, editing Wikipedia, because it's not anymore trustable. It's not anymore some, secure source. If these people can modify, you imagine how many things they did already modify. You know, when I say it's proven already, it's true. It's true. It's not a fantasy or whatever they will call it, conspiracy theory, whatever. It is true. It is true, and anyone can verify it. Anyone can see that video. They
Let's do this. Let's go to a couple other languages and see if the same stuff exists. Because in the page that provides information, I'll put the camera on these to show you guys. So here's the page in English. I'm sorry. Let me show you the page in English first. Okay. So here's the right side. You have the photograph of the individual. You have his name. Then you have his personal information. It says born, died, religious denomination, school he went to, political party. Grand Mufti of Jerusalem when he was in office, who preceded him, succeeded by, president of the Muslim Council. Now, notice there's nothing about anything about Germany in here. So it says allegiances, Ottoman Empire, United Kingdom, Germany and Italy, 41 to 45. Now that says allegiance. Now I don't know anything about his service. Now let's go to the one in Swedish and see what it says. Okay, now this doesn't talk about the same way. This is presented differently. It says information. It says, let me see what tankst for means. I translated it. Okay, here's what the translation says for that section. In the service of the Ottoman Empire, Great German Reich, Palestine, Defense Branch Artillery, Ottoman Empire, SS, Mustache, Germany, period of service, 1914 to 1916, Ottoman Empire, 1941, 1945, German Empire, grade SS Gruppenführer, unit artillery. This makes it sound as if he served in the German military in some capacity in the First World War for the Ottomans and the Second World War for the Germans. That's what the Swedish version says. The Americans, it says military service, allegiance, Ottoman Empire, UK, and now, what does allegiance mean? I don't know exactly what that means. So I'm going to go to the Spanish version. And let me see, Wikipedia in Espanol. I'm going to type in, I'm going to do Google Translate. And I'm going to go English to Spanish. And I'm going to type into the Spanish to English. I'm going to type, English to Spanish. I'm going to type in Grand Mufti. And again, this is the part that I don't understand. I've never heard this before. Grand Mufti, not Grand Mufti. Okay, Grand Mufti is the Spanish copy. Let me go to Spanish Wikipedia and put that in the search bar. Let's see what comes up. Let me type in Grand Mufti of Palestine, de Palestina. Here we go, Grand Mufti de Jerusalem. It doesn't have much about him here, as you can see. Grand Mufti de Jerusalem. Yeah, it doesn't really say much about him. So again, I don't know whether these entries are accurate or not. So is there another place that we can find information about this Abu Lafia? Because it doesn't clarify what he may have done during these periods of time. You're claiming that he was appointed as a special SS Gruppenwaffen, and that I don't know what that means of what he did.
Yeah, Chip, there is it's not a coincidence he ask you about specific language, which is Swedish, and the only version you found that's matching his claim is Swedish. Is it not curious?
I'm going to type in, was the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem an SS officer? Okay, this is something out of the Times of Israel. It says, full official record, what the Mufti said to the mustache guy. Okay, he began thanking him for the great honor to receive him. He wanted to convey that the Arab world admired his country. He appreciated his sympathy, especially for the Palestinian cause, which the mustache guy must have said something sympathetic towards. They were convinced that the Mufti and the surrounding nations were convinced that Germany would win and that the Arab cause would then prosper by said victory. The Arabs were Germany's natural friends because they had the same enemies as Germany, namely the English, the JEWS, and the communists. Therefore, they were prepared to cooperate with Germany with all their hearts and stood ready to participate in the war, not only negatively by the commission of acts of sabotage and instigation of rebellion, but also positively by the formation of an Arab Legion. Now, the question is, was said alliance done for strictly, quote unquote, hatred towards Jews, or was it done because of the desire to prevent the establishment of a Jewish ethno-state, which would have been harmful to the people living in the territories in which it was proposed to be established? That's a fair question to ask, and I'm not sure about that. If it is strictly hatred towards Jews, I would call that out, because I don't want that to be the case for anybody. But if it was indeed aimed towards preventing the establishment of a state that would be harmful to the indigenous residents of the territory, then I understand his wanting to prevent that by any means necessary, regardless of with whom you have to associate. And by the way, just to let you know, in fairness, it appears that the time in which he met, the meeting took place in 1941. I don't know to what extent he may have had awareness or did not have awareness of what the Germans were doing at that time. So if he knew that they were systematically doing what they were doing, and he went and aligned with this guy, then that's an issue. But if he was unaware of the quote unquote the solution, quote unquote, in terms of his meeting, if he just wanted to have the Germans support his political objectives, that's a whole different story. So again, I don't know. It's worth looking into. But I think it's a fair point to bring up, and Al-Afia, I think it requires more research and more securing of sources that are deemed reliable, if that's fair. Anybody have 2 cents you want to say about that? How about is it Ali Al? Did you want to say anything?
Yes, sir. I appreciate having me here, and thank you very much for supporting the humanity. I don't want to say only Palestinian, but this is a humanity matter. By the way, I saw your search. It's amazing. I don't believe that the Mufti went there just for ethnic cleansing or genocide these people. I don't believe that, because we've been living together. We have a good connection between us, and we love each other. Or we can say we love anyone. I don't know what they have in their heart. I'm sorry, sir. Just give me a second, please.
Yeah.
But if we can go to the mustache man, if you look at mustache man background, if he's a Christian or he's Zionist, what is his father and his grandfather background? Are they Christian or Zionist? Please do a search, and you can find on Jerusalem, you're gonna find he is one of the Zionists. He is Jew. So why accuse Muslim people for supporting Jew to genocide Jew? Does that
Are
make
you
sense?
seriously claiming that
If you
Hitler
can
was
please,
Jew?
yeah, look at online.
That's
If you
your
don't know
claim.
how to
Okay,
do
great.
how to use Google, because what I saw, all the false information they're
Okay.
spreading,
So you
I'm
you
so
are
shocked.
seriously claiming that Hitler was Jew.
Go
Okay,
online.
that's enough. We can go to another topic.
No, what he says, he was a
We
Zionist, not a
we
Jew.
we hear
Not a
what he
Jew.
says.
No. He wasn't saying.
Hold on.
But
If I
what
say
you
if I say
want.
Jew or if I say Zayo, you are claiming
Zionists, they are not Jewish.
that
Zionists,
no,
Jewish.
brother, just 1 second, please.
Sorry,
Just give me
yeah,
a
of
second.
course.
I'm saying, if he was a Zionist or if he was a Jew, I'm talking about Mustache Man. That doesn't change the fact that he did a genocide against them. But the Mufti, he was seeking help against the British invasion in Palestine and Arab
Can I
land.
continue on what
Hold on 1 second. I
Mufti,
didn't finish it, please. Don't jump, please. Just hold a second. If the Mufti went to seek a help for his country because being invaded by Zios or by Britain, that's his right to protect his people. I'm not against the guy who's seeking for help. He's not seeking for genocide. You came to his land seeking refugee, and then you start to attacking people to eliminate them and displace them by the British power. You didn't ask yourself how these militias get the power to eliminate the Palestinian, how British army took the weapons and invaded all the what's the name, all the cities and the villages and take everything from Palestinian to make them ready for your genocide or genocide. I'm sorry for the word. You did a massacre over there. Why? Because they didn't have any tools to defend themselves. They have only knife. It's not a knife even for butchering animals. This is eating knife. They are not even able to throw it on you. They've been using rockets. It's not rockets, I'm sorry. It's stones they've been using to defend themselves.
Can you
Even
please
for
back
the
to our
stones,
issue,
you
not from
being
the knives? Can you back to our issue, Chip? There is a fact. I just wanted to state a
effect
fact.
of what? You
So
feel
the
bad
fact
when
was he
when
was
they bleed?
high-ranked SS officer. Now, if we continue, like he has two during this independence war, where he was fighting
He was
against Jews,
defending his
Arabs.
country
Can you please
against
give
the
me?
British invasion.
Can you please give me?
Yeah, let him finish. Go ahead. Go ahead, Abdullah. Go ahead.
So he has two main commanders. You know, Arabs were mainly attacking convoys. They were trying to
Convoys, the invasion convoys, the militias of convoys.
they were trying to
Can you
stop
explain
communication between
what kind of
Jewish
convoys passing
villages.
through Palestine,
Can you
passing
please
through a
give
country
me
and
Let-
make
under
my point
occupation?
and
Let him
not
let him finish.
spreading here conspiracy theories? So he has two main commanders. One of them was Al-Salahi. Al-Salahi was also Abwehr officer. He was German. He served in German army, and they had connection to Rommel brigade. Now they fled to Egypt. After the war, they fled to Egypt, and this revolution, you know, Egypt, there was a revolution in Egypt, and Nasser, which became a president of Egypt, he was also German officer. The Egypt was a place where all those
Who was it, German officer? Who was that?
sorry. Once again,
Who
Nasser had
who you said a German officer? Nasser was a German
Nasser was rewarded by highest German order, which is Iron Cross of German Army. He served in German Army, and this group of officers made a revolution in Egypt. Now, a lot of Nazi officers fled to Egypt, and Mufti, which was a war criminal, also fled to Egypt in 1946 and worked there as a representative for Muslim Brotherhood.
Why was he a war criminal? Can you explain to me why he was a war criminal?
Yeah, so he was recruiting Muslim brigades to SS army. He personally recruited more than 30,000.
In
Himmler,
in Bosnia, right?
excuse me?
In Bosnia, right?
I don't, Albanian, Bosnians, he recruited a lot of Muslims. He personally recruited more than 30,000 Muslims into SS army, and that's why he was awarded, in order to be able to do that, he received his general lieutenant in SS. So
That's your
Uh,
claim. Is that correct?
yes, you can check it.
Okay.
Please Google it.
Go
Wait,
online.
brother Adi,
And
Check Mr. Mistash.
hold on,
TikTok
guys.
is
Hold on.
very inconvenient platform to give links to show
Let
on it.
me. I just did some reading and research. Let me share some resources with the audience. Okay, so he's right that let me try to explain the story. There's a article that I found, or a book. It's a 15-page write-up by an author named Philip with one L Mattar, Mattar. It's called "The Mufti of Jerusalem and the Politics of Palestine." It's 15 pages. It's a PDF. You can look it up. It's by the Middle Eastern Journal. Okay, it's written back in 1988, right when the H group was forming. Okay, you come down to page number, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, on page 2, this is on page 237 of his book. This is a clip out of his larger book. Okay, it says the Mufti and the Axis powers. Let me show this to you. Okay, I'm going to turn the phone around here. All right, because you'll be able to see it right now. Okay, this is what he wrote. No period in al-Husseini's life is more controversial and distorted than that of the war years, meaning 1940 to 45. Zionists were so eager to prove him guilty of collaboration and war crimes that they exaggerated his connection with the mustache people, while al-Husseini and other Arabs were so busy justifying his statements and actions that they ignored the obvious and overwhelming fact that the Mufti did indeed cooperate with one of the most barbaric regimes in history. In his only meeting with Mustache Guy in 1941, al-Husseini stressed the need for a public statement by the Axis, meaning Germany and Japan and Italy, supporting full independence for the Arab world and rescuing Palestine from Zionism and British imperialism. In other words, his motivating factor for meeting with H Group was for public support for his aspirations politically with respect to the land of Palestine and what he believed to be the Arab people over the quote-unquote proposed takeover by Zionist Jews, and not to support the extermination of the JEWS per se. He thought that the Germans were going to prevail in the war such that when they did, he would have political backing of the strongest power on earth to implement his desires in the region for his people, okay? In a secret pact in 1942, both Italy and Germany agreed to, quote, grant the Arab countries aid in their fight for liberation, to recognize their sovereignty and independence, to agree to their federation, as well as the abolition of a Jewish national homeland in Palestine. In other words, they were going to block what ended up happening and permit the region to be a state called Palestine under Arab rule. Once he had a commitment from the Axis, al-Husseini began to assist in the war effort. He issued appeals to the Arab world to revolt against the British, in other words, make life hell for the Brits so they'd get the hell out of Palestine, organized an Arab legion to fight the British in the Arab world, basically mess with them, recruited Muslims to fight the communists in Croatia, Bosnia, and Serbia, what basically became Yugoslavia, and now is broken up again, and coordinated sabotage expeditions to Palestine, Iraq, Transjordan. His propaganda and military efforts, however, were either unsuccessful or were insignificant. So in other words, they're saying that his ability to raise military and or cause havoc for the British were relatively unsuccessful or were ignored, and the sabotage teams were either captured or killed. After the war, several Jewish groups sought al-Husseini's indictment for trial as a war criminal. Sound familiar? The Jewish Agency in 1946 provided the British with evidence consisting of unsigned letters in draft form from 1943 and 1944 and reprinted by the agency, in which al-Husseini protests to a number of countries under the Axis control the exchange of European Jews for Germans from Palestine. Such immigration, he proclaimed, benefited the Jewish national home. In addition, the Zionists sent a statement to the British Foreign Office by Rudolf Katzner, a leader of the Jewish Reserve and Relief Committee in Budapest, in which he quoted Adolf Eichmann in saying, in response to a request for the emigration of Hungarian Jews to Palestine, I am a personal friend of the Grand Mufti. We have promised him that no European Jew would enter Palestine anymore, and that Eichmann would be willing to recommend the emigration of a group of 1,681 Hungarian Jews on condition that the group should not go to Palestine. They can go to any country but Palestine. Now, these are the allegations made by Zionists saying that these were said. The documents, however, were not taken seriously by the British. In other words, this is more of that schemed up bullshit that the Israeli Zionists do all the time, where they obfuscate, lie, misrepresent, falsify documents, plant evidence, blah, blah, blah. It's more of this deceit and trickery and bullshit that these people do because they want their way, and they'll do anything it takes to get it. And this is why you're hearing somebody here on a TikTok live parrot this stuff, because they believe what the Zionist research shows them. But any third party who analyzes it comes up with a conclusion like this, like almost everything else that I've looked at in the history of watching this conflict. Okay? So this is the real analysis of these circumstances. And again, was the guy perfect? No. Did he collaborate in terms of wanting to support the war effort? And you can criticize that? Yes, that's fair to say. Did he have a disdain for the establishment of a Jewish ethno-state in Palestine? Absolutely. Did he seek support of who ended up being the loser of the war and one of the biggest mass murderers in history to help him in that endeavor? Yeah, he did that. But the question is, why and how did he do that? And what were his aims in the end? And were they
my question was he a highly ranked officer in SS army or not? Let's stop to the facts and not to the epithets that share different so-called researchers.
So you didn't hear the conclusion?
Conclusions, I can give a lot of conclusions. I can say white on black, black on white.
It says
There are facts. You know, there are facts.
It's
Facts
pure
are facts.
propaganda.
Now,
You
we
can
can...
come up with anything new, but it's still
I don't need...
propaganda.
in this case, I wanted to come up with something old.
Something
Old
old.
fact.
No, it's new propaganda with old stuff.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
exactly what you're doing.
And please, if you search also for
Can I ask you a
Abdel
question?
Nasser
Can I ask you a question?
serving in German
Can I ask you a
army and
question,
getting a red
Can I
Iron
ask
Cross.
you a question, please? Can I ask you a
No,
question?
we come back to you. We've
No,
elapsed. In
can I
couple
ask
of
you a
seconds, we
question?
come
A
back.
simple question. Why you got an Arabic name?
I told you because you're very
Why
illiberal. You
can I ask
don't
you in Arabic?
know that it
Can
was
I ask
a
you in
name
Arabic
of
instead?
Jewish philosopher.
Sorry?
This was a name of very famous Jewish philosopher.
Abu Lafia.
Yes.
Abu
Okay.
Lahab.
Philosopher. Okay. Yeah, if you say so. I never
I
heard
say
of it.
so. Yeah.
I never heard of it.
Now, you
So-
never heard. Of course, you never heard. You never heard a lot of things.
No, just I was curious because one with Arabic name, maybe Muslim, and doing this Zayu propaganda, it's a bit disgusting. But
Akhoya
anyway,
Mohammed,
that's your
just
we
one second,
can back
brother.
to Alexa. Yes, we can back to
I
Alexa.
will say something else. You accuse one person. I will ask.
I didn't
Chip,
accuse
can you
anything.
Chip? Hold on one second. Chip, please. I have a request, please. Can you go and see? There is at Arts. They said there is 150,000 Jew in the Mustache Army. They've been serving in the Mustache Army at that time. Can you please take a look
Yes.
at it?
There were definitely
What are you talking
collaborators
about?
that were Jewish.
No,
that
they
helped
were
them.
not. There was
Hold
Michlinger.
on.
It's Arts who said that. There is
Yes, but you didn't read
150,000.
you didn't read the article. I can tell you exactly what was said and who were serving. I can tell you exactly.
They were a spy.
No,
They
there were
were a spy
150 Christians which had one of their
saying
grandparents
Jew.
Jews. They were
How is
descendants.
that? You believe in blood. You don't believe in religion.
I'm
You are the
telling
opposite
you,
on the
they were
others.
Michlinger.
Muslims.
Germans didn't
Excuse
allow
me.
Jews to serve
For,
in the army.
for you is different than Christian and Muslim. Muslim and Christian, they believe you can pick up whatever religion. You're gonna be in that category. But for you, it's the blood, and the blood is coming from the mother, not coming from the father. As much as your mother, she is Jew, you are Jew. Whatever religion you're gonna go through.
Yeah, in
Am I
this case,
correct or no?
we were speaking about grandfathers. They were not Jews. Jews were not allowed. There was a special decree which Hitler
So
prohibited
how did
every
you prove?
Jew.
How can you prove they are Christian?
But just search, were called Michlinger, The,
Guys, I'm sorry. I don't mean to direct the conversation, but I got to read this last part. I didn't see this before. I apologize, but let me finish this, then we'll come back. Okay, this is from that same document, okay? And this is really important. This is sort of like the author's conclusions based on this segment of the book. So this is from a British foreign official based on the validity or invalidity of the Zionist argument of implicating the Mufti and his role with the mustache people. Okay, now remember the claim being made here by Abu Lafia is that there was a direct relationship, and he was appointed as a special sort of like advocate slash recruiter slash something Waffen whatever by the Germans. Now, what this says is that the British Foreign Office, in analyzing these accusations, said, quote, "The material in this paper is very vague and would certainly not be considered as decisive evidence against the Mufti for having participated in any atrocities against the Jews. Other officials wrote that the Zionists were using this meager evidence for propaganda purposes to discredit the Mufti and the Palestinians. Since then, no evidence based on captured German documents has emerged in the many books on the Holocaust or from the 1961 Eichmann trial in Jerusalem, during which documents concerning contacts between the Mufti and the Germans were compiled to show that he had participated in any war crimes. Until a more thorough and nonpartisan study is undertaken based on captured German documents on al-Husseini's role in Mustache, Germany, it is safe to conclude that the Schmatzis wanted to use the Mufti against the British, in other words, use him as a tool to destabilize their adversary in that region, and to go against the communists, and that he cooperated with them, the Schmatzis, believing they would help the Arabs expel the British from the Middle East and keep the Zionists from dominating or displacing his people. So there was a symbiotic relationship where the Germans were trying to use him as a force to advance their military objectives vis-a-vis the local adversaries, to try to motivate people in another part of the world to, again, join forces with the Germans and oppose the very same. They had common interest in some way.
exactly. That was my point. So he and German Nazis had the same common interest.
No, because it was a back-scratching thing. The Germans.
Yes, you have told it right now.
Hold on. Let me finish. The Germans thought that by virtue of having an influential member in Palestine, they could degrade the British, because British was part of the one of the main adversaries of the Axis powers. It was the Americans, the Russians, or the Soviets, and the British. They were the three major powers fighting the Germans, the Japanese, and the Italians. So with that in mind, Hitler was adamantly opposed to Russians and communism completely. He hated them. So they wanted to eliminate the influence of communists in the Balkans, which is where he was
Mustache guy.
Sorry, I shouldn't have said that. It's so easy to get back into terminology. So in the Mufti wanted a guarantee and a proclamation that the Germans and the other allies of the Axis powers were going to support Arab determination in Palestine. That's what they wanted. He wanted to have an Arab state, organization, territory, absent Zionist implementation of a Jewish ethno-state. Right? He didn't want that. This was all sort of emerging, and these were the tensions at the time. A Mustache Man thought he could use them in that region and their people to scatter the British, antagonize them, and have the same mutual interest with regard to each other's enemies.
Yeah.
That's what the relationship
It's very nice that you explain it.
But there was no definitive proof that he participated in any war crimes, supported war crimes, and all of the Zionist arguments of his involvement are unfounded based on historical documents.
Based on this document that you just read, which was written by some specific person, I just want to stick to the facts that he had a rank in German army and he had common interest with Germans.
So you didn't
Now
hear
we can
what
go to
Chip
Alexa.
was
Finally, we
saying
can go
so
to
far?
Alexa.
Have you got any device to help you? Maybe your hearing or something, or I don't know. Is your
He's
understanding
testing the reality.
lack of? Just a second. Wait a second, brother, please, Ali.
Yes, brother, go ahead.
Finish, because I'm coming back to his point, and when he was talking about Egypt and Jamal Abdel Nasser, which is he accused him as well also of being from the Mustache Man. That was your sullen enemy. Jamal Abdel Nasser was your sole enemy. He defeated you in the war in 1960. And you claiming he was from Germany because he was your enemy. What are you talking about? What you are talking about? Revolution, Egyptian revolution. Egyptian revolution. Are you talking about the coup, military coup in Egypt before Jamal Abdel Nasser? What are you talking about? So I mean, history. We all know history. You can't tell us a lie about history. You need to come up with something else. You
All
know,
right, so listen,
it's
this
not the
whole
right
look at this.
channel for you. Sorry.
Okay, so Abu Afi made the following. He said that this is by one person's account. It could be different than others. Okay, so the publishing site where this book was published and put on there is called JSTOR. Now, JSTOR is an independent academic mission that's run by the Andrew Mellon Foundation.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me finish. So there's an analysis done. This is by MediaBiasFactCheck.org. And they do analysis of all sorts of media groups to find out what their bias may be, right, left, center, any particular nation, state, group, religion, whatever. So it says, in review, JSTOR is a digital library. Let me turn this around so you can see it. Because I wanted to find, I don't know, I want to see if they're biased too. JSTOR is a digital library that does not publish news. The website allows you to search books, journal articles, and publish research on over 75 different disciplines. Based on not publishing news and only serving as a search engine for science-based information, this source is rated as not biased. So basically, it's just a publishing site that doesn't try to promote a certain agenda. So that leads me to the fact that whoever screens this stuff is saying that this is not an author who is trying to present information to try to sway opinion one way or the other. The author was simply trying to say, this is what happened as a researcher.
Yeah. What did he say about his rank in German army?
It wasn't mentioned. That's the point.
Yes, that's what point. That wasn't mentioned.
Because
That's
it didn't
my
exist.
point. That wasn't mentioned. Because he
Because
Just
it
drop
didn't
this one.
exist.
Drop this one. Chip, look at this one. Drop him, please.
Thank you. Because it didn't exist. That's the point.
you of course see it in different sources. Like TikTok is a very unfriendly platform. But we can go to another issue, to Al-Aqsa.
That's how you hate it because it's
Where-
not biased, because you can
Where-
express your
Okay,
opinion, basically.
So let's just assume that the author there is not giving accurate information, or maybe he didn't know to include
No,
it. or maybe-
he probably gives accurate information. It suits his purpose. He just
that's what I mean.
leaves aside some details.
Let's assume the worst. Okay, let's assume the guy didn't include it because it was unflattering to the mufti, and therefore it's not a valid source. Let's assume that for a second. Where is a valid third-party source, according to you, outside of Wikipedia, which can be edited by Naftali Bennett's army of editors, which, by the way, on the English site doesn't include the specifics of him being an SS officer, but you're
Yeah,
saying
I've seen it. For instance, there is Waffen SS Muslim troops. There is a special.
where do we find him being an SS officer from Germany at a source that's not editable by Naftali Bennett? How about that?
What?
Naftali Bennett led a group of editors that try to do more Zionist-friendly
So
updates on
what? I'm telling you, you can check military sites. There are military sites.
Let's say that. I mean, pick one. You seem to have a lot of knowledge about this. Where's
Yeah,
one
I tried to give you like.
Give me one. You gave me Wikipedia in Sweden, is what you gave me. Give me one source outside of that I can find this.
He won't. Just
Well, he
this-
might.
You're talking about-
Let's be fair. He might. Let's be fair. I don't know. I'm trying to just research this, guys. I'm trying to be objective.
Why not? We're here.
I just want to understand how he connect the relationship between Mr. Mustache and Palestine. Mr. Mustache, his shoot was in 1945, and the creation of Israel is 1948. What's the relationship between this part and 3 years after this part? I'm so confused. I know he's tried to connect it with the genocide. I understand that.
G-side,
But-
G-side, brother.
G side. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, my
maybe
bad.
he's not aware
The
of.
G.
Yeah, maybe he's
I
not
think
aware
he's
of.
lost.
Maybe he's not
I
aware
think
of.
he's lost. Mhm. Yes, sir.
Yeah, sorry. Maybe he's not aware of. I mean, the deal the Mustashman did with the Zayu to get rid of the so-called Jewish problem, because he didn't kill, or he didn't unalive. Sorry, didn't unalive enough. But I mean, according to his head or his theory, enough Jews. So he wanted to get rid of the rest. Maybe he's not aware of the deal they did just to get rid of him, or to get rid of the one he didn't unalive or torture or whatever. But everyone knows. I mean, the history history is there, is clear.
Yeah, they twisted
Crystal
everything.
clear.
Yeah, they try to twist everything. They
Yeah,
want to take it on their advantage. They don't
exactly.
care about the history. They
Yeah,
don't care about the fact. The only thing they wanna separate is their narrative, which
propaganda.
has
Exactly.
no which has no reality, which has no evidence, just lies. That's what I don't understand.
Okay, Chip, go to armedconflicts.com. Armedconflicts.com.
Who's the author? Bibi?
Grand Mufti.
Can you please
Oh,
spell
okay.
it? Because I typed in armedconflicts.com and it says this site can't be reached.
Yeah, he took another nap. So, if you can, after that, please just take a look at the background of Mr. Mustache.
Okay, I'm on there now. Okay, it says officer of the Czechoslovak Army and general of the Slovak Army. So what do you want me to search?
He's taking up now, I know. Oh, he's back.
Okay, now the other thing I want to show you all really quickly. So this is an article written by the Guardian going back more than a decade. So I'll just read you the title. Wikipedia editing courses launched by Zionist groups. 2 Israeli groups are setting up training courses in Wikipedia editing with aims to show the other side over borders and culture. So it's called the Yisha Council, representing the Jewish settler movement and right-wing Israel Shelley movement, is running a workshop in Jerusalem teaching participants how to rewrite and revise some of the most hotly disputed pages on Wikipedia. Here's Naftali Bennett, who worked at Bennett. We don't want to change Wikipedia or turn it into a propaganda arm, says Naftali Bennett. We just want to show the other side. People think that Israelis are mean, evil people who only want to hurt Arabs all day. So again, this is part of Hasbara, the Israeli program to show what they believe to be their truth as they understand it, and try to provide a, quote, balanced perspective in media and data but most people view it as an effort to slant information that gives people a non-clear, non-biased view, a biased view of an Israeli point of view about these different issues. So again, it doesn't mean that the information on Wikipedia, on the Swedish site or whatever is invalid. It just means that Israel has a publicly revealed proactive process of getting people to edit stuff to the benefit of their Zionist cause. So I don't know how you put those two together, but it's possible that it may be part of that. It may not be.
Yeah, I think Wikipedia being a self, what they call it, founded website or platform, they rely on editing as a source of an income, and they have to come up with the solution, because they cannot allow, you know what I mean, anyone to edit. It's one of our sources, and to be manipulated by the evil people like that, it's not really a good thing, isn't it? Yeah, Bob. I mean, I don't know if I told you already, Chip, but they have like I don't know what they call it exactly, but it's a Zayo manual, basically teaching them how to do conversations and it's really absurd how it's is there to manipulate every conversation, like deviating from the topic, shouting at the people
Can you
back,
please go
annoying
to
them.
Alexa?
Look what he's doing right now. Basically, he's following the instructions.
Instructions, yeah.
Interrupting people.
Yeah,
They
people,
talk.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you proving me right, basically.
Yeah, this is the destruction.
And they do this kind
You
of
you 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 you
method of
you made
conversing
some
and
claims
this.
about
How
Alexa.
you doing?
You
Yeah.
made some claims about Alexa. I want to reply if possible. If not, I'll.
Yeah, go ahead. What do you want to do? Say.
Yeah.
Before
Alexa, they want.
give you permission to speak. He's the host.
I don't know. It's
I'm
cheap.
just a guest.
Cheap.
As
Is
long
it
as
okay
you're
that I reply on
online,
his
as long people understand
provocation
how
about
big the lie
Alexa?
that you are separate everywhere.
Yeah, hold on a sec. So what did you? I didn't hear what you said. What was said that was provocative about Al-Aqsa?
That Israel had a lot of provocation on Alexa. This constant source of, it's the way to provoke poor Palestinian people to Intifada 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on.
So are you claiming that Israel has not done that?
If it's okay, I would like to respond to this fantastic claim.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
And I can start with there was Sukkot holiday. That's a big holiday where all Jews are coming to Jerusalem. I was standing in Old City. There was a lot of people. There were a lot of people standing very tight. And poor Palestinian people started to throw blocks, stone blocks on the heads of the people from the wall of the Al-Aqsa. And that happens quite often. And
A quick question.
There were also
Just
stones.
a quick question. Why they did that? Why they throw stones?
I'll come back to you in a while, yeah?
Can you answer this question, please?
You were saying that it was a holy place, and why do people clash in holy place? I'm telling you, I was standing like 5 meters below, and those poor Palestinians, which probably came to humble pray, started throw on us blocks
Why
of stones.
you were there if it under Palestinian Authority?
What?
Why you were there if it under Palestinian Authority?
You don't know what you're talking about. I was standing.
No. I know the agreement. It was under the Palestinian.
What agreement?
Authority.
You don't know the geography. You don't know what I'm talking about. I was standing.
No. You went there.
Beside.
You went there.
Western Wall.
To shoot people, to analyze people, to kick them out from their prayer, and they are unarmed. They have nothing in their hand to defend themselves. And you are fully armed. And you are fully armed, and you get there, you kick people from Al-Aqsa while they do their praying.
My stories. Please give me finish my
Your story is funny.
Yeah,
I
because
like
you're telling me some funny, stupid stories which are not happened. What I'm saying, I was standing.
My story is stupid, but your story is like a Tom and Jerry. You're just creating a lot of.
You
crazy,
are telling a lot of
no
conspiracy theories and bullshit. You don't know the geography. You don't understand where
exactly.
what is
yes,
happening.
I don't know the geography.
Yeah, you don't know.
Especially Palestine.
The thing is, you know that Western Wall, where all Jews pray, yes, is below this Al-Aqsa compound, 5 meters. So humble Arab prayers.
Dig under it. You dig under it.
What?
To fall it down. That's why you call it holy place. It wasn't holy place.
Bullshit. That's
hold on. So this is important to understand. So I believe the context of the conversation is that Israel is doing that. I think what is being said is that it's in response to some sort of violence.
No. Wait a second. I just want to stick to the facts. I'm telling the story. I'm staying and praying with a lot of.
Wait a second. Hold on. Let me before you tell the story. Let me just show a couple things. You can continue to tell your side of it. Just let me show the audience something I think is important to see. So the argument being said here by the Palestinian side is the Israelis are interrupting worship. They're keeping people from worshiping. They're storming the facility. They're basically agitating for no reason at all because they can. That's one argument. What's being said on the other side is no. They wouldn't do anything like this unless there was a justification, such as kids throwing stones or some other type of, provocation. So let me just show you some articles, and you can make up your own mind based on the different arguments. Okay, just a second. Let me show you. And again, I'm just trying to, give you guys some information. You guys can chew on it. So this is an article by the Times of Israel about the founder of Wikipedia, by the way, Jimmy Wales. Look him up. He's a Zionist who says he tries to stay independent. Okay, you can look him up. He's the co-founder of Wikipedia. He's Jewish. He's Zionist. Okay. All right. Here's the article from Middle East Eye. I have another one that's also by. There's also one that's done by the Guardian, which you can look it up too. Let me find the one on the Guardian. But let me look at this. So this is over 700 illegal Israeli settlers storm into the Al-Aqsa Mosque. This is on April 24th, 2024. Hundreds of illegal Israeli settlers on Wednesday stormed into the Al-Aqsa Mosque complex in occupied East Jerusalem to mark the Jewish Passover holiday. Israeli forces imposed restrictions on the movement of Palestinians inside the mosque complex during the settlers' tour in the courtyard. Okay, so tensions have been running high across the West Bank since Israel launched military. So revered by both Muslims and Jews, the Al-Aqsa Mosque complex is believed to be the burial site of the prophets Muhammad, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Okay, so
Let's start with settlers, yes?
Hold on,
Let's start with settlers. How do you know
There's
who was...
3 articles I want to show you. Then we'll have you talk about it. There's 3 articles, okay? So, this is Middle East Eye. Okay, Al-Aqsa Mosque, Israeli raids and incursions explained. This is a general article about multiple incursions. Okay, this is a photograph. Israeli settlers and former lawmaker Yehuda Glick during a raid on Al-Aqsa. Okay, so look, you have an armed policeman flanking these different people who are Jewish going into the Al-Aqsa Mosque to disrupt things. Okay, Israeli settlers and far-right activists, nearly always protected by police, enter Al-Aqsa Mosque on almost a daily basis, showing complete disregard to the site's Palestinian Muslim administration and the thousands of worshippers who are usually at the site. The controversial incursions have long been a cause of tensions and violence against Palestinians in East Jerusalem and beyond. To Palestinians, they are viewed as a part of decades-old strategy by the Israeli state and right-wing groups to Judaize the city and rid it of native Islamic and Christian Palestinian heritage. To the far-right Israeli groups, they are the first step to lay the foundation for the destruction of Al-Aqsa and replace it with a third temple. We've heard about this a lot, which they believe will be built atop the mosque. Okay, what are the incursions? Blah blah blah. So I'm gonna come in. What do they want? The far-right groups, they're temple groups. They want to get rid of the Al-Aqsa Mosque and build the temple. What happens during the incursions? The incursions are planned every day except Fridays and Saturdays. Protected heavily by armed police, the settlers enter the courtyards of the mosque in 2 different shifts to recite prayers, perform rituals, and hold presentations. Each tour lasts 30 minutes to an hour. Settlers then head towards the southeastern section, passing across the Kibbutz Prayer Hall with Silver Dome, the main building on the site from where congregation prayer is led. They then walk to the northeastern and western sections before circling back to where they started. So basically what they're doing is they're fucking with them.
Basically, can I reply to this great article that you were reading? So I can read you a lot of articles that Palestinians throwing stones on Jews from Al-Aqsa, just from Temple Mount. Just Google it. You get like hundreds.
I've heard that story. I've heard that.
It's not story. It's really happened to many people. It happened to me also.
Well, the question is, here's the question. How often is that happening versus how often is the Israeli government, military, and police entering the compound for no good reason because there's no stones being thrown, just because they want to incite and
don't
antagonize
believe that they entering compound for no reason. There are a lot of, this is very explosive site. And making provocation there, it's very... dangerous. So that's why Israeli police has because during this Ramadan, it's usually Palestinians started to show age group flags. They started to do riots.
There is
they
no age
started
group
to throw stones.
You're mixing up the information. You're mixing the information. There is no age group over there.
I met a lot of Zionists in last.
So now, historically, I just wanted to.
This guy.
Which historically there is no age group over there. Which historically?
Over the top.
We hold on, guys, real quickly. So we had this conversation earlier before this recent guest came in. So the question is, and this is a general statement or general question. Does Israel, in terms of its police and its military, only do things that are directly related to its security interests when somebody else violates whatever the rules are? For example, if somebody's driving in East Jerusalem and they try to take their vehicle and ram soldiers, or if a woman is carrying a sharp object and she goes after an Israeli soldier, or if a young kid violently hurls a very large stone at somebody's head and hits them, or whatever the case may be, or even misses them slightly, these are provocative acts that we would all refer to as, there's some validity to dealing with these acts. The question is, are there times when those incidents occur, perhaps, and are there times when those incidents do not precipitate what the Israeli army or police forces do towards Palestinians, whether it be at the Al-Aqsa Mosque, whether it be in the West Bank, whether it be wherever it may be? And that is a very important question to ask. Because if it is indeed the fact that because of the asymmetry of power, especially being armed and having soldiers that have the backing of the police and the military and the state, the systems, the total domination that the Israelis have over Palestinian territory, Palestinian life, if they misuse that power on an ongoing basis to antagonize, to humiliate, to brutalize, to terrorize another group of people, not because it's deemed necessary, but because they can and they want to for the sake of projecting their power, is that justifiable? And if not, why can't that be called out and condemned? The argument that I'm hearing today is no. It's only in response to acts of aggression that the Israeli military and police do stuff because they don't start this shit. Right?
Yeah, the
But
simple answer.
No, not
Simple
right. We were
answer.
speaking about
Just 1 minute.
Al-Aqsa.
Just 1 minute. The simple answer.
Not 1 minute. I didn't finish. So let
Assalamu
me finish
alaikum.
about historical
We
part of Al-Aqsa.
let you speak. So can you please be?
hold on. Let's give him 30 more seconds to finish, then let the other person
Okay,
respond.
now the historical facts are this compound Al-Aqsa, which is the holiest place and so on, was actually never a holy place for Shia Muslims until this revolution. And the real Al-Aqsa is placed in Saudi. This one was built like 60 years after Muhammad's death. And everyone knows that Muhammad was turning both Kaaba and Al-Aqsa. So that this Al-Aqsa was built by Arab rulers of Egypt just to
No, it's by
move
built by
attention
Bibi.
to move attention to Jerusalem from Kaaba. So and the second, the golden cupola, it's by Byzantine Church. So the thing is, I do understand that it might be considered a holy place, but historically it was not. And the
Okay.
next thing
Hold on. We got to share the mic real quickly. I think what I'm hearing is that it's in some people's eyes, it's not a valid holy place because it doesn't have the same history as other parts. It was done later in the progression of historical religious sites. Okay. Either way, currently people perceive it to be a holy place. I think everyone acknowledges that the other side perceives it that way. The question would be then, is it okay to do things that are disruptive and unnecessarily disruptive when there's no preceding behavior? You're claiming that rocks were thrown, and that those cases, this is the same claim I heard about Shireen Abu Akl's funeral, that people were throwing rocks or stones at the soldiers, so the police came in and beat up the funeral bearers, right? That's to maintain order. But I can't see how it maintains order to beat the person carrying a casket because they couldn't have thrown rocks. They're carrying a goddamn casket.
Let
Anyway,
us stick to
That's
this
not-
issue.
we got to let somebody else come in. There's somebody I think here who's from Gaza, and let's let him go, whoever that may be. I can't read your name because it's in Arabic.
The name is
It's
Ibn
Ibn
Ghaza.
Gaza. Ibn Gaza.
Ghaza.
Ibn Gaza. Ibn
That's the
Gaza.
name.
Anyway, if they want to speak, I don't know if
That
they want to
means
speak.
son. That means the son of
Son
Gaza.
of Gaza. Yeah.
Can you?
brother, can you speak English or you want me to تتكلم عربية
بغزة
أنا بتكلم
تريد
عربي.
بتحكي عربي ولا لا؟
لا بحكي عربي
تتكلم
أخوي،
انجليزي؟
عربي وإذا في مجال
تحكي
أنتم
إنجليزي؟
تترجموا.
Okay, Chip, he's asking translation if you kindly can do, I mean, we can translate for the audience.
Yeah, here's my request though. Okay,
Yes.
one or two sentences, pause, translate, and then continue. Not 4 minutes of talk because it's just too much.
Exactly. Makes sense. Yeah, makes sense. أخي إذا تريد الكلام أنا أقدر بإذن الله الترجمة، ولكن جملة أو جملتين وتقف وأترجم.
نعم
ثم جملة أخرى إن شاء الله. أوكي.
إن شاء الله أخوي. أول شغلة
بارك الله
نشكر صاحب هذا اللايف اللي بينقل وبيسمح لي إني أنا أشارك وبيسمح في الرأي الفلسطيني اللي هو الرأي الحق كهو صوت ومنبر حر. شكرا له أولا.
I do thank the host for the opportunity given me to express myself and for the effort he's doing to spread the truth. تفضل أخي.
Guys, one second. I'm gonna drop. I appreciate your time, Chip, and everyone. متشكرين بغزة لحضورك هنا. Muhammad, thank you, and others from the audience. السلام عليكم.
Okay, السلام عليكم.
Okay, good night. Have a good weekend.
I offer
Palestine.
translation.
Good night.
Sorry, Free Palestine, brother. May I offer my translation services? I'll help you in any ways.
It's up to Mohammed. Mohammed, do you want to let this Red Sand person help out?
Yeah, of course. No problem
Okay.
at all.
One to two sentences, please translate. If it goes on longer, I got to stop it.
He said that you're a free. No, I'm just gonna make like Muhammad said, a sentence at a time because it's better, so everybody will understand. Hopefully. So let me just say hi to everyone here in this podium and everyone, yourself, Chip in particular. And I'm sorry, this guy who was previous, he's such a hezbollah. You cannot go. You cannot make someone who's brainwashed, unbrainwashed. You have to do dismantle it bit by bit because they're just there. They know what they're doing. And we've been seeing this these vices they've been doing since the start of their. I'm an Egyptian. I'm from Alexandria. I know exactly how these people work. We had Jewish friends and school mates of my aunt and my uncle. And my uncle was like the head of the school. He was like on top of them all the time. He's buried now in Houston. He's a geologist. I don't want to get into personal things, but I know how these people work. Actually, the Jews who lived in Egypt were very simple people, very nice people. We had no problem with them, but they had their own agenda. The other guys, the Z's, they came in and they did this in Egypt. They did this in all the Arab and the Muslim countries, and they did the same in Germany. They had to make their life hell so that they can get them out, the poor ones of them, to travel to Palestine and colonize that place. And the rich ones went to Australia and America and elsewhere. We know this. This is well documented. Nobody can twist this.
They've done it. They did it in Syria. They did it in Iraq. They've done it in everywhere. Here's a question for you. Do you think the Al-Sisi government in Egypt represents the will of the people vis-a-vis the Palestinian-Israeli conflict?
I'm sorry to say, hell no. I'm Egyptian and I don't subscribe to anything. I don't subscribe to Sisi. I'm not a Muslim. I was against the Muslim Brotherhood. I'm a simple human being. A father of three. I want to live in peace. I want to live in good conditions. And when I have a force coming and exterminating our friends on the east border, which has been historically the gateway to invading Egypt, we have to take it very seriously, even if we are not Muslims, if we don't know the Palestinians. Okay, sir? So I don't subscribe to what the Sisi has been doing. We should have forced them to stop this since 6 months ago. I'm sorry.
I agree.
So this
That's
is
shameful. I agree. Okay, let's get the translation going, please.
حبيبي يا محمد يا ابو ابن غزه، كيف حالك حبيبي؟
الله يكرمك أبو محمد أخوي العزيز. طبعا أنا سكان خان يونس وسط قطاع غزة. نزحت إلى رفح في شهر ديسمبر، ومن ثم خرجت من رفح إلى مصر لعلاج ابنتي وأخي نتيجة إصابتهم بعد قصف المنزل، وأنا الآن في القاهرة.
اهلا بيك في بلدك حبيبي. he said حياك الله حبيبي. الف سلام عليهم وربنا يشفيهم يا رب واجر وعافيه. اصاباتهم يعني تقولها رجلك سبقتك على الجنه ان شاء الله وضمن لها مكان في الجنه باذن الله. So I'm just praising him. He just identified himself as Abu Muhammad, the father of Muhammad. He is from Khan Yunis. He was forced to leave Khan Yunis. He went to Rafah, and now he is in. He had to cross the border to Egypt and take his brother, I think, and his daughter because they were, injured in the atrocities that's happening. This aggression. I don't call it a war. This is not a war. When you go to a war with Egypt, inshallah, this will be a war. But now it's not a war.
Can you? You don't have to ask about the amount. Can you ask him if he had to pay any special fees to move himself and his family to Egypt?
اوكي بيقول لك لا في اي مصاريف اضطريت تصرفها عشان تدفع حاجه معينه يعني عشان تدخل من رفح الفلسطينيه لرفح المصريه.
اخي العزيز ما بدنا نضحك على بعض. طبعا دفعت وبعت ذهب مرتي واخوي الجريح الان هيو موجود عندي في البيت لم يتلقى العلاج الكامل رغم خروجنا كتحويلة طبية علاجية نتيجة إصابته والآن يحتاج إلى تركيب مفصل في قدمه اليمنى بعد إطلاق الرصاص عليه من الدبابات في اجتياح خان يونس. دفعنا كل ما نملك من أجل الخروج بعد قصف المنزل.
كم دفعت؟
$5000 أمريكي
على كل فرد.
على أخي هذا لأخي إسلام
لأخوك وبنتك.
وأنا كذلك وبنتي وأطفالي كل طفل دفعنا $2500.
Okay, so he said we will not say but the truth. We will not I will not make it how do you make the words beautiful? I have to pay. I sold all the gold of my wife. I sold because my brother is handicapped. They shot him with the killed him with the tanks, and so the IOF they target the civilians, as we know, and his leg is gone, the right leg, and his daughter, and he paid $5,000 for each person, adult, his brother who was injured, even though they had a special special status because they are injured. So even though they paid $5,000 each person, each adult, and $2,500 each child. I will ask him I'll take this further. Ask him which entity asked him for that money. Would you like me to ask him that?
No, that's okay.
We know which entity.
One thing I'm curious about, just in general, he may not know the answer to this, but we've talked about the resolute nature of the Palestinian people. On a percentage basis, if the entire 1.1 million people who are displaced by the Israeli aggression, how many are willing to stay and risk their lives versus how many are, if they're able to pay for it, are willing to flee to safety?
اللي جاي بيقول لك انت كم واحد من اخواتنا الفلسطينيين اللي في غزه عندهم استعداد يفضلوا على الارض يثبتوا في مكانهم، وكم واحد يعني لو معاه استطاعه اللي هو يدفع هيعدي ويهرب؟ ده السؤال.
اخي العزيز احنا اصحاب ارض، والارض احنا ما هربنا، احنا ما في مستشفيات، ما في علاجات، ما في ادويه، ما في امان. احنا لو انا ما عندي اطفال لبقيت في داخل غزه ولم اخرج منها. احنا ما بنخاف الا ربنا، واحنا فقدنا الكثير، لكن العلاج
انا اللي قلت ما هو اللي ما قالش المصطلح اهرب ده خالص، يعني هو قال مين عنده
لا انا بحكي لك خرجنا لسببين. خرجنا اخي العزيز لسببين. السبب الاول علاج. انا بدي افتح لك انا الكاميرا تشوف قدم اخي الان يحتاج الى مفصل في ركبته ومش قادرين احنا نجيبه. حتى المستشفى المصري الهلال الاحمر المصري بقول لك ما بنقدر نغطيه، ما بنقدر نعمل لك العمليه، وموقفين علينا تركيب الاطراف والمفاصل. تفضل يا اخي العزيز. هي العروبه.
اصبر يا اخي اصبر، صلي على رسول الله بس. He said that his brother is suffering. They're unable to provide him a prosthetic limb, and the Red Crescent in Egypt is not able to. They said they cannot cover that. I have other news for him. Maybe I'll give it to him later. but I know a person who was with me on another live, and he has actually received the prosthetic for the right leg actually. So inshallah he will get one. But they think, yeah, he's showing you his daughter and or his son or his brother, I think. I'm not sure. هذا أخوك؟
هذا اخوي اخي، وهي العلاجات، وللاسف مش قادرين احنا نعمل له نركب له مفصل نتيجه اصابته. هذه الهلال الاحمر المصري.
Yes, he needs a
للاسف
prosthetic.
بقول لك العمليه هذه مكلفه، ما بنقدر نغطيها. هذه العمليه
Very expensive.
بتكلف.
Yeah,
تفضل.
the Red Crescent is saying this is a very expensive treatment and they cannot cover it. So he's trying to cover it. So yeah, he said that nobody will like to leave Gaza if we have nothing there. They have destroyed everything, the schools, the hospitals. There's no medical assistance. There's nothing. There's no medicine. No way to stay there. But he said, if my kids and family are safe, I would stay in Gaza. I would stay myself there. Put I'll be on the ground there, protecting my home, and I would. We don't leave our lands. We don't, because I asked him how many would run away, and I shouldn't have said that, but I meant to take refuge in Egypt rather. So it was a mistake from my side. I hope he understands. He fell, I think. Oh no, he's still there. I'm sorry. Okay.
هذا طبعا
Yeah.
أخي العزيز هو نموذج التحويله من غزه زي ما انت شايف، اللي هو علاج.
Transfer form.
فاحنا
Yeah, transfer.
ما قدرت
Egyptian.
استنى وقته لانه خوفا من بتر قدمه، لانه اصابته بالمفصل، اطلاق نار من الدبابه بعد قصف المنزل.
That's a people
فانا
from
احكي لك
back to the house
مين اللي
was,
ساعدني.
Yeah. مين
اللي
ساعدك؟
ساعدني اللي هو ده فرحه فاميلي. اكيد اذا انت في امريكا او في امريكا بتعرفوا
عارفه.
هذا الشخص.
عارفه.
هو
بيطلع
اللي
لايفات.
ساعدني بتكاليف والدتي واخي هذا المصاب. اما انا وابنائي اطفالي خرجنا يعني بذهب زوجتي بعته. انا كنت امتلك افضل كافتيريا في خان يونس، قصفت، دمرت، بيتي دمر، ما ضلش شيء لي في غزه. الحمد لله رب العالمين، لكن حنبنيها، حنرجع تاني ونعمرها، حتطلع غزه افضل باذن الله عز وجل.
بإذن الله. إن شاء الله عن قريب بإذن الله. So he said that his brother here has been helped by the Fura family because he couldn't afford it, but he got him out. He paid for him. They're American Palestinians. I know them. I think he comes on alive. And he said that he had to pay for his own, the payment that he had to pay at the border. He paid it out of selling his wife's. And he said, I had the best cafe in Khan Yunis, and now everything has been
Wife's
destroyed.
gold. His wife's gold,
Yeah.
brother.
And his wife's gold, yes, I said, yeah, his wife's gold was sold for him to be able to come to Egypt with his children and his brother and so on. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. تفضل. عاوز تقول حاجة, or you want to ask him something, brother? Chip?
Well, I want you to tell him that I'm very sorry this has happened. The question I wanted to ask was, is his brother able to get medical care so that he's not in pain? Does he have pain medicine, or how is he feeling?
بيقول لك يعني قلوبهم معكم، بيتأسف لك، وبيقول لك لو في يعني كيف بيعالجوا أخوك، هل بياخد أدوية للسيطرة على الآلام؟ هالشيء يعني بيوفروا لهم أدوية؟
أخي العزيز، اللي طلع أخي بمثبت خارجي في قدمه، الهلال الأحمر، مستشفى الهلال الأحمر المصري في رمسيس عمل له عملية الثانية، كانت هي إزالة المثبت الخارجي وتجبير قدمه بالكامل، إلى حين أن نستطيع أن نحن أن نوفر المال حتى نشتري المفصل ونقوم بعمل العملية له. المستشفيات المصرية للأسف الشديد ليس لديها الإمكانيات، على كلامها إنه إحنا ما في عندنا مفاصل، إحنا بنعمل عمليات بسيطة جدا، عمليات جراحية، لكن تركيب أطراف وزراعة مفاصل لا نستطيع، فدبر حالك.
حبيبي عندي أنا تدبير لك إن شاء الله. دكتور محمود حافظ هتروح له باب اللوق إن شاء الله، دكتوري وأستاذي، أنا كنت شغال معاه في 2018 آسف. الراجل بباب اللوق، هديك رقم تليفونه، والراجل عنده استعداد يعمل عملية إن شاء الله، ما يبقاش تكلفة عالية إن شاء الله، تبقى تكلفة بسيطة، وانتوا على دماغنا يعني اللي نقدر عليها نعمله. So he said that his بس انا بسألك على الادوية اللي بياخدها، يعني ادوية
هي الأدوية
للآلام.
مسكنات ومضاد للالتهابات، لأنه في عنده صار تآكل في غضاريف المفصل، والآن استطعت أني أنا أشتري له صدقا تلك الأدوية من الهدايا والمكافآت، لكن كمستشفى هلال الأحمر قام بس بفك المثبت الخارجي وعمل جبيرة له فقط.
Okay. So he said that he's been providing the medications from the gifts he's getting on lives and stuff like that, and that the Red Crescent, the Egyptian Red Crescent, had removed the outside fixture because they fixed it from outside in Gaza. They fixed his knees so that his leg stays in one piece. You know, he can move and stuff. And they removed that and they made like gypsum. So they put together his leg so that he can until they can provide for him the facility of providing a joint. I also offered my own help from our professor here in Cairo. We have a professor of arthroplasty I worked with in 2018. He's willing to help and I will be sending him. ابو محمد ممكن بس لو سمحت تتعامل معايا على الدي ام على الخاص، تبعت لي بس تليفونك، لان انا في حد برضو قابلته بس مش عارف راح مني اختفى، بس تحكي معايا تديني رقم تليفون مصري او حاجه عشان ابعت لك عليه معلومات على الواتساب. خلاص اتفقنا؟ Okay, so I offered him that he gives me a DM and I will WhatsApp him on a local number so that I can give him information on how to go visit that professor who will probably provide it for, if not for free, it will be very cheap. Inshallah, it will be a cheap, not so expensive, something they can afford. Hopefully, he actually is one of the top professors in the world. He has an innovative. It has like he's using GPS location to navigate the bones. And this actually, Chip, if you have a good lawyer, we can go. There's a guy called Chip, like yourself, but forgive me, he's a crook. He stole my professor's patent. Innovation back then, and he is now in Fort Worth prison, maximum security prison, and you can look it up on the judicial website. I've offered my professor to sue this guy who's been sued by the FDA for issuing a non-FDA approved knee, arthroplasty knee, and we can actually sue for $2 million. Yeah, we could make money, Chip, too. So let's talk about it privately, if you don't mind.
Yeah, in fact, it's a good time. I unfortunately, and I hate to do this right now because this is very interesting, pass my best wishes on. I do have to close down the live because I'm meeting somebody for dinner. I have to go.
Quite all right, brother.
Yeah, me too,
right.
Chip. Really, thank you for the space. Just a quick one to the brother with his injured brother from, by the way, he was a tank. Was basically get him injured. This the absurdity of this, kind of moral army. What they do. أخي الله معكم إن شاء الله. جزاكم الله خيرا عنا كل خير ليس هناك ما يقال، ليس هناك ما يقال. جزاكم الله عنا كل خير ورحم أمواتكم وسدد خطاكم إن شاء الله بإذن الله، ودعاؤنا ودعاؤكم. وجزاك الله خيرا أخي مصري رضا، جزاك الله خيرا على عمل الخير.
أخي
Allah you all. And thank you very much, Chief, for the opportunity, for the space like usually, and keep going. We getting in there. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you, everybody.
See you later.
Our guys are persevering. They're long. They have longitude, and their martyrs are in heaven. We wish from God what they don't wish. Their martyrs are in heaven, and the martyrs of the dayas are in the deepest part of hell. So just believe this, guys, and know it for sure. Anyways, salute all of you. Thank you. Abu Muhammad, تواصل معي لو سمحت بليز على الدي ام. انا هوصلك بالدكتور بس ما تختفيش، ابعت لي رقم. ابعت لي رقم، ابعت لك على واتساب لو سمحت. اوكي ان شاء الله. Thank you. You know me now.
Thank
I
you,
have
Chip.
two accounts. I have two accounts, Land of the Free and Kahuna KZ. I mingle around. I'm with all the other guys. I've been with Rosso, Eric, and I've been with brothers in and out. I hope you will have a good evening, brother, and thank you for having me. I hope I translated to the best of
All right,
my.
everybody. Thanks for being here. I'll see you next time. Have a good rest of
I
your weekend.
appreciate it, brother.